because that's how Israeli media works. They're never in the wrong. They're always the victim. And if they get struck hard, they're going to play out that victim card. But hey, if they're winning the battles, then it's self defense. If you haven't figured that out yet, then I'm sorry, you're an agent. Okay? Because they're never going to claim that they're in the wrong. They made a mistake. They shouldn't have killed civilians. They shouldn't have struck a hospital. In case you haven't noticed, they always take the high and mighty card and the self righteous card. That they can never be wrong and they should never be held accountable.
I know
Dude,
very
I
well
got
how
a
the
question.
Zionist Jews work. I know exactly how. In fact, I was here a long time ago saying nobody actually quite
Yeah, of
understands.
course you know you're one of them. I know you
Yeah,
know you're one of them.
sure, whatever.
Dude, I
Um,
got a question.
I think people know
In terms of
people can know someone who's a bad judge of character as well. When they see
Yeah,
them.
but the difference is that call it out. You don't. You believe their
No, I don't
media.
believe that media at all. When you said yesterday that F-35 was down, I agree it was down. I didn't deny it at all. So, but what it is, I'm more objective, and I'm more, and I want to see. I'm more inquisitive. All I asked you was a simple question: what do you predict? And the only reason I'm asking a prediction is for the sake of understanding where you think they're going, not because I have any other ulterior motive. You shouldn't assume other people have ulterior
Look,
motives. I don't know
you're
if you're a Muslim.
you're asking
I
a
don't know if you're a
question
Muslim,
like,
but have you
well,
heard of the
they stated
one
they have
second,
2,000
dude.
missiles. They said they have 2,000 missiles left, and they're going to launch 2,000 missiles today. Do you really think they plan to just end their battles and use up all of their supply today? And you believe the number 2,000? You have to ask that question. Why? You couldn't use your common sense after reading that and just laugh and say that's absurd? You couldn't figure that out yourself?
so
You have to question and act
so
curious
let me
about
kind of
it?
break down my question so you understand it a bit better. Maybe I wasn't clear. Two,
Why don't you address what I just
sure.
said rather than waste people's time with your
Oh my
nonsensical
God.
questions? Why don't you answer that? Why'd you ask a stupid question like that?
Do you want me to ask a question or have a discussion, dialogue with you, or do you want to shut me
Why
down?
don't you answer what I
If you
just
want,
asked
if
you?
you want,
Why'd
I
you
can
ask?
just be
Why do you
quiet
ask
and you can
stupid
just
questions?
make accusations for the next 20 minutes.
It'd be well, you can leave for all I care. You're not offering any value to the conversation, nor will you answer why you ask stupid questions. You believe there's only 2,000 ballistic
So
missiles left, and they're
let
going to
me
use them all
let
today,
me
and that's
explain.
the end of it, right? You
Let me
believe that,
explain my question. 2,000 ballistic missiles. When I say 2,000 ballistic missiles,
so you won't
oh my
address
God,
it. So you won't address
I'm
it.
trying to
Okay.
explain. You won't even give me a chance. Do you want me to ask the question or not? Or do you want to just make the assumption and judge judge and jury?
Hey, I'm not making assumptions.
All
I'm
right,
just going by what you
listen,
said.
listen. One sec, listen. So Hassan, just answer the question, and then we're gonna get
Yeah.
to Ray
So
because we're in between
let
late.
me complete the question and then you can
But
answer it. So
no,
what?
but listen, Hassan, listen, Hassan. Don't go on like giving us a lecture. Take
So
60 seconds,
sure.
answer the question,
I don't need
and
that. I
we'll
need
move on
30
to Ray.
seconds. When I say 2,000
Okay.
ballistic missiles, I don't mean that's all the missiles I've got. The ballistic missiles I'm talking about are the ones they can strike Tel Aviv with. I'm sure they've got many thousand more cruise missiles and other kinds of missiles. I'm sure many tens of thousands. But when I was reading intelligence reports before, and obviously I know they're biased, they said they had a much smaller stockpile of the ones that can specifically strike Tel Aviv, and that's where I'm a bit concerned because I want to make sure, or I'm hopeful. I want to, at least I hope that they've got tens of thousands of those rather than only a few thousand of them, and they have to be careful and use them strategically. Because we saw what happened in Lebanon, where obviously the number of missiles was not used was not what we anticipated and expected. And I don't know. I answered the question. The question is a
I mean,
genuine one,
listen,
inquisitive one.
listen. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. You don't need to be worried about what they have. You don't need to be worried about their strategy. They know what they're doing. There's nothing you can do. Can you actually give them advice or do anything for them? No. Why are you worrying about it?
I mean, look, it's a discussion to understand where the strategy is going of this war, right? We're trying to understand which direction it's going.
So what's your opinion? Because you haven't really give much of your own
I
opinion.
genuinely don't know. That's why I'm asking Truth Teller because I'm not a military expert. I'm asking a genuine question.
Well, listen, I gave you the simple answer. I'm gonna go with the horse's mouth itself. The horses, and they've done exactly what they said they're gonna do. They said we're gonna do like for like. Whatever you hit, we're gonna hit. It's very simple. I mean, I don't know. It's not much they can do from that far away. It's not gonna be a land invasion. No tanks are coming across the border. So there's only so many options. They have drones. They have missiles. They're not gonna send the jets. So it's not really that hard to figure out what they're gonna do. Let's be honest. It's just gonna be what type of strategy do they deploy? That's the only thing that you can really, and it's only so many options you can have. So
Well, there's aerial attacks as well. There could be ground invasion later. There's other options, but we're not there.
yeah,
For
I
now,
mean
it's going
that's
to
the
be
point.
more
Obviously,
drone and missile warfare.
Yeah, but obviously, I doubt that's going
Modern
to be
war.
happening anytime soon.
I'll sum up why modern warfare in 30 seconds. It's based on your ability to be able to have consistent supply, and we've seen this in Ukraine, Russia. What they mainly use are drones and different types of missiles, and then an air defense system to defend themselves. And of course, intelligence is key as well. Those are the four main components to be able to carry out modern warfare. Because invasions are obviously very costly, expensive, and you lose a lot of troops that way.
So the missiles,
30 seconds flat.
the missiles they
But
had,
but even
my,
just listen one sec, just listen, Hassan, because you're trying to hog the mic. And you've been doing this quite a bit, and I really want to let other people speak because I think it's unfair, especially when other people are patient and they don't jump in. Because some people are not like us; they don't really have that sort of courage or experience.
sure, no worries, mate.
They have to
I'm
go
happy
through
to
it.
close the conversation now.
What was that? Sorry.
I'm happy to end the conversation now. It was actually
No
I wanted
worries.
a dialogue,
Let's
but
go to Ray then.
it
Let's let
didn't
Ray.
it didn't go anywhere. So you go ahead.
All right, let's let Ray refresh his and bring us a new perspective. Jump in, Ray.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had a quick question. It's kind of off topic, but still on topic. The question is, the Zionist scum, they've turned off the internet in Gaza. Last report I saw was they literally had their their Navy destroyers pull to the side of Gaza, and they started shooting in the middle of the night. Saw a video of that. These guys are sick and out of their mind. I think some of those Iranian submarines should take out those Navy destroyers, and it should honestly, Israeli forces in Gaza are also fair game. If Iran is listening, take them out. But I don't know if anybody's been hearing what's going on in Gaza. It's unfortunate. Last report I heard was, France and a few other countries were going to have a meeting about recognizing Palestine as a state at the UN. That went underwater. So the two questions is, what do you guys think about where this Palestine meeting, where that's going to go? And do you think it's just the Israelis strike Iran? Maybe that was part of delaying that, and you know, and third question is, what do you think is going on in Gaza? Where do you think that's going to end up going? You think they're probably killing people in the dark? I mean, these guys are sick. So that's basically it. And last question is, do you think Trump's administration is mutual destruction of these Israeli scumbags, or maybe even Netanyahu is like a mob. They they know who's reckless. It's like that movie. What's that? Heat. They know who's reckless, and they eventually let the guy do the job, and then they take him out later. So you think Netanyahu is setting up his own guys because it makes sense. He would rather Iran take him out than these guys being tried at the world court. So what do you guys think of all this question? I know I had to ask like 5 questions there, but these are interesting points and they're relevant. So let me know.
True for Simon. Either one of you want to take that?
Sorry, I was working on something in the
Look, the
background.
genocide.
Do you want to take it, Truth, or ask one of the questions?
I'll just take part of it. Look, the genocide in Gaza continues. They're still striving towards their Greater Israel project, and they love the fact that this Iran conflict is now a distraction from that while they carry on with the genocide. They're still bombing Gaza. That hasn't stopped, and there's the West Bank's fully sieged as well. So nothing's really changed with Gaza. I mean, as far as like regime change with Netanyahu, ICC, ICJ, that's all a joke. Like he was able to stave off and avoid prosecution within Israel. He's going to be around for at least another 6 months until they try again, possibly longer. Netanyahu's like a modern day Machiavelli, evil as they come, but also clever, conniving. He finds a way. He's been finding a way for 30 years. This guy's been in power officially since '96, elected 5 times, and with coalitions, etc. He's rarely had a majority government. I think only once maybe. So beyond that, like, you never underestimate guys like that. Whether you like Jews or not, that's irrelevant. You have to understand your enemy. And this guy, he's smart. He's an MIT grad, and he's politically savvy, and he knows how to brainwash people, but also then play the victim card and call it anti-Semitism if things don't go his way, like he did with the UN, like he does with anyone that'll disagree with what he's stating, even when it makes no sense. So he knows how to
But
play all the cards to his
you
advantage.
obviously understand Netanyahu's background. Netanyahu was working for a Rothschild firm in Boston, and the Rothschilds have huge investments in Israel. I mean, they built the Knesset, they owned the Suez Canal before, or funded the Suez Canal, and so like, what does the Rothschilds gain from Israel burning as it's burning right now? You think, like, what do you think that angle is?
Dude, it means rebuilding contracts with companies they own as well. It's fine. They don't mind a little damage in Israel. It's worth it because they're damaging Iran or trying to anyway. They're looking at the bigger picture, and that's that they want to install a puppet regime in Iran, ideally that they control, balkanizes, and steal about 30 to 40 trillion dollars worth of resources. They're thinking in terms of trillions worth of gain, You're worried about millions of dollars worth of construction rebuilds and some even Jew lives they don't really care about. They'll sacrifice some Jews for the cause. They did it for the King David hotel bombing. They did it for 10/7. That's fine, no big deal. So because what they care about is money and control of resources. Iran has a lot of it, and it's also in a geopolitically strategic location. In between the Persian Gulf and the Caspian Sea, etc. And there's a ton of resources there as well. And plus, it borders like 7 countries. Yeah, they want control of it because it also poses a threat to Israel. So if they want to preserve Israel and Israel is the main asset, you want to get rid of your main imposing threat, and that's Iran.
You think it's going to go nuclear in the end?
See, when you have
Either
questions
from
like that,
Israel
no
or the
one
United
knows.
States?
Nobody knows. But they might. It's on the table. If they feel like they're losing and desperate, yeah, they'll execute on the Samson option.
Thanks for the explanation. That's crazy. The best we can all do is try to move the Overton window. American support for Israel is at like less than 10% or something. So just when September starts, just hit up the colleges and universities and just talk to people, and that's what I've been doing. So because if America drops Israel, it's over. That's the best scenario. If if they came out and said, look, aid's being cut in half, that's the only way to get Israel to negotiate and
That's not
stop the
America's call.
assaults on Iraq.
It's not America.
What do you mean?
It's the banks and the military school. America is a proxy for the corporations that control it, and they use lobby in order to control politicians. So the most important corporations that sit above America are technology, banks, military, pharma. They control America. They own the politicians, and they have lobby groups, and they own jurisdictions. They also control Israel. You're negotiating with companies here. You're military to give up their profits, and you're asking them to negotiate with those that have equal opportunities, as it were, for the corporations. So the GCC is sovereign because of its sovereign wealth. Iran is sovereign because it doesn't have a debt-based central bank, and they're all negotiating with essentially US, which is a proxy for military companies and banks, and those are the important players in the region. They also control the intelligence. So the military has a deep state that sits underneath it, and which connects it to, the different intelligence sharing. And now technology is becoming ever more important. So those are the corporations, and Trump works for them. Netanyahu works for them. Those are the corporations that are negotiating, and they're negotiating with countries that are sovereign, that aren't controlled by that, but they need partnerships. They need the ability to open up their trade routes. They need the ability to, export their oil, export their natural gas for electricity, build data centers. These are the negotiations that are happening behind the scenes, and there's a bunch of people that get to profit from them if they broker it, including Trump. And Netanyahu is a liability. He's no longer an asset because he's got too much legal liability. And they need you to believe that it's just these jurisdictions that have the power, but they're not. They're captured. They're owned, and that's done through financialization and securitization, and that's how the power structure actually really works.
So here's a question: since Netanyahu is pretty much a dead man,
Netanyahu
wants
works for military, the military companies, and those military companies are saying, right, once we're done with the profits from bombing the shit out of things, what's the next vision? Well, we'd rather work with a bunch of rich Muslims, and we'd rather work with them. And so, therefore, let's negotiate with those rich Muslims. And those rich Muslims, like then, are saying, well, we can't do shit in this region until Palestine is free. And then they'll say, how do you get Palestine free? Well, you have to actually work with Iran. And so how do we get Iran and Saudi to speak? Well, we go to China, and China says, well, I need Russia and BRICS to be aligned around de-dollarization. And if we align together, then we can export the colonizers, which is based upon the dollar, the International Monetary Fund, and the Federal Reserve. Who owns the Federal Reserve? The banks. And the banks get to move capital. And who owns the banks? They're public companies. Who owns those? Well, they're actually controlled by the asset managers. Who's the asset managers? BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. And so therefore capital is what determines that, and a profit motive at the top. And they can vassalize ideologies in order to manipulate people to join armies, and they can use intelligence in order to manipulate. They can use media in order to manipulate, and those are the people that you're actually brokering with. So it's economic power and military power, and Iran right now is exerting military power and resistance, and the rest, the other leaders in the region, are showing economic power and diplomacy, and both are needed when you combine them together with the competing power to dollarization, which is BRICS. And that's why we are in this moment right now. The world is changing, and these are the final battles, and power is changing. Now, you can either believe that power will remain the same forever, but it's an incredibly disempowering when you recognize and you actually follow the money, that actually power changes and it shifts. And so this is why we are in this situation right now. So America is no longer sovereign. It's not a sovereign state. It's controlled by the corporations and the lobbies and whoever has the most money. You can buy a politician, they're prostitutes. If you want to pay the highest bidder, Elon Musk said, I'll pay 250 million for Trump. Adelson said, I'll pay 100 million for Trump. And the Bank of New York Mellon family said, we'll pay 150 million for Trump. Guess what? You get all your policies.
No, 100%. You make some very good points there. I was just saying, because Netanyahu is like he's wanted by Iran. His own people hate him. You think the guy will ever even return to Israel, or you think he's chilling in Greece?
He's gone. He's gone.
Like
I mean, look, he's got at least, we don't know, you know, as Truth says, we don't know exactly. We're speculating based upon the information that we have. But to me, he's got at least 6 months, at most 6 months left. The political process will wipe him out. And if he's not doing what he's told by his military overlords and whoever is and his agenda that he's fulfilling right now, because he's not top of the chain, he answers to somebody. And who he answers to is the military companies that made trillions of dollars of profits from his foreign policy. And once they say, right, it's no longer useful, we know we don't want to. You have to get an alternative deal, and the alternative deal is let's rebuild. And that's what the negotiation is. That's what all of this is happening. And Netanyahu is just he's not important. Of course, he holds some power, but it's who is on top of Israel and who is on top of Netanyahu that matters. You're dealing with middle management in your analysis. Middle management is not important. Trump is obviously important, but he's still middle management. You've got to ask, who does he answer to? And whoever pays the check is the one that they answer to in this capitalist system. And that's who these negotiations are. It's BlackRock that's determining. It's Raytheon, it's General Dynamics, it's JP Morgan, it's Goldman Sachs. These are the power players. These are the ones that are determining whether war happens or not.
Very quick question, if I can interject, if that's all right. So what do you say to the theory that Netanyahu is basically unhinged? Trump is also somebody who's very unhinged, unpredictable.
Then you assassinate them. If they're no longer fulfilling the mission, they go. What happened? That's how it works. You blackmail them, you bribe them, you pay for them, or you assassinate them.
The levers of power at their hands.
Yeah, but Simon, the part you're missing is when Yitzhak Rabin got assassinated, is because he wanted to commit to a two-state solution. So you're not going to find someone who's going to commit to that or give up any land. They want to install a guy. They get the powers that be want a guy in power. There's a one-state guy only and doing what Netanyahu is doing. So when you say he's unhinged, he's a war criminal, he's all the adjectives you want to give, that might all be true, and it is true. But that's the guy they want in power, and that's why he's been in power on and off for 30 years. So who do you think you're gonna replace him with ideally? It's not like democracy matters here. They have their guy that they want in power. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing now, But now the banks have said, well, we want MBS's money, we want Qatari money, we want UAE money.
You think
So
they need their money? You think banks need
yes,
their
they
money?
do,
They
because
don't.
when
They've been getting it the
when the
whole time
printing
anyway.
press
Is this the first?
runs out, you have a problem. You have a problem. You need to
They do a
find a new
great reset.
partner and a new host.
Look, they do a great reset. I don't think the banks are too concerned about getting more Qatari, Saudi, UAE money. They can have both. They don't need to choose. They can keep Israel around as a liability, which they have, and they can make their deals with the various Gulf states.
Yeah,
Makes
but
no difference to
if
them.
you want Gulf State money, Gulf State don't just give money. They have terms and conditions that come with that money, and that's what they're negotiating with. They're negotiating with their money.
You make it sound like it's an even playing field. It's not. Like the U.S. says they want another area, they want another military base. You think they negotiate, or they just tell them? They just tell them we're going to do it, and they do it. They'll add another
Exactly,
base.
but that's
There's
the
no terms and
neocon model.
conditions. They tell them to sign off on this $1 trillion deal. They do it. There's no expectations, or they tell them to go fund ISIS and Al Qaeda. They do it. Okay, what terms and conditions? They've been saying we're a two-state. We want a Palestinian state for how many decades? Does it matter? You think that's a contingency? It's not. MES even said, so, oh, well, now I'll perhaps agree to Abraham Accords if they're just a pathway towards two states. They're not serious. They don't care.
They
MES
are
has also admitted
for
he doesn't care about a Palestinian state.
for
He only talks about it to just placate his people because they care. He
but
doesn't
that's
care though.
fine. Forget about motive. It doesn't matter. The fact is, it exists. If MBS has to deliver a two-state solution in order to move to the next phase of what he wants, it doesn't matter whether he's a good
He's
person,
moved the
bad
goalpost
person,
though.
his ideology, whether
No,
he's doing
but
it
he
because
moved the
the people
goalpost.
want it.
He's already said it doesn't have to be two state. It can be a
It,
pathway towards a two
for
state, which is
25
just kicking the can down the road.
years. For 25 years, he has not normalized unless there is a two-state
You think
solution.
what is normalization to you? With trading more, spending more
Normalization
money? He's already
normalization means that we need
he's
to
already
genuinely
on.
reform. What it means is we need to get rid of this Iran versus Israel forever war. And what does that require? It requires a new vision for Iran and a new vision for Israel. And that's what I think is being negotiated here. That's what I think we're
Stop being
seeing here.
negotiated. First of all, there's no negotiations happening. There's a war going
How do
on.
you
In
know?
case you
How
hadn't
do you know
noticed.
there's no negotiations? Do you trust
Because they said they're
what
not
they say?
negotiating nuclear anymore, and Israel
But do
and
you trust
Iran's
what they
withdrawing
say?
from
Do you
all of
think
the
they tell you
protocols they
what's happening?
previously. Sorry, they've withdrawn from all the protocols. They're at war right now. That's what there's always going to be back
That's
channel
what they need.
conversations.
That's what they
That's not
need everyone
negotiation.
to
That's
say.
just being open and look. That's just keeping in touch with your enemies. That's not negotiating. This is going to go on for a while. It seems Israel said it will anyway because they're under the illusion they can disable all the nuclear sites and their missile manufacturing sites, and they're going to kill a bunch of civilians too. That's what they always do, and they're going to claim it's collateral damage. So this is going to go on for a while. This new vision of Iran, yeah, that's not a vision for Iran to the benefit of Iranians. That's to the benefit of Israel, which is going to stick around. Nothing's going to change in Israel. The same powers that be are going to be around. The face might change, but even under Ehud Barak, there were more settlements built in the West Bank than under a Likud leader, such as, say, of course, Netanyahu or Ariel Sharon. Everyone knows that. You can look at the numbers. So it really doesn't
I,
matter who's in
I,
power in Israel. Their
I
vision is still strives towards a greater Israel project. So it's going to be
no,
there's going to be
I would
continued
argue.
conflict and instability in the Middle East so long as Israel's there.
I would argue that a sovereign, if it was possible, I'm not saying whether it's possible, but I would argue a sovereign Iran with its own central bank, with with deals with its neighbors that don't involve blowing each other up, and a denuclearized Israel would be something that Iran would negotiate towards. Now,
You
whether
think
we get it
Israel's
or
going to
not,
denuclearize? They're never going to give up their nukes. They haven't even admitted they have nukes.
well, what if
Again,
he?
this is wishful thinking. I'm telling you, they want to strive towards a one state solution for Israel,
Well,
greater Israel
here's
project, great reset. They're not worried about debt and
I
finances because they
I
control all the world's resources, or they're trying to anyway.
I understand what Israel wants, but Israel is simply military companies. That's all it is. It is a proxy for military companies. And so therefore it will do what if the military decide, right, we're no longer backing this project and
But they
instead
are.
our banks are
Well,
going to be
have
backing a different project, then
have you
it
heard
gets
them not?
drained. It gets
Who's
drained.
going to remove the
Yeah,
settlers from the West
but
Bank?
they're not
You're going to buy
defunding or
them. You're going to
disarming.
buy the
Yeah,
settlements
they're
and it's
not
going to be a one
defunding or
state solution.
that's fine, but they're not defunding or disarming Israel. They're giving it all the weapons it needs, all more than what it wants, because they also resell their weapons too. They're the number one
And do you
weapons
not think that's
reseller,
the
and
negotiation?
they're not negotiating. Listen, so they play. Okay, you need to understand how
Then
Israelis
it's World War
negotiate.
Three.
They don't play.
America
They
doesn't
don't
have
play
all the
towards.
cards.
That's fine,
America
but they
is
don't. That
competing
yeah,
with
because America's run by Jews. First of all, you're right. America has no agency. It's controlled by Jews. It's APAC and the Jewish lobbies that control the politicians and the media and of course finance. You know that. You just don't want to. You say America
I
like Americans have agency. They
A,
don't. America
APAC
doesn't
is
have agency
about
either.
APAC
Look,
is
it's
about
not
the
just
six.
APAC. It's
APAC is
UJA. It's
way below.
ADL. It's
You
J
you
Street.
know
I
as
can. You
well
want me to
you
go
know
through
as well as I
130 Jewish
that
lobbies?
you know as well as I who the most important lobbies are. It's pharma, it's military, it's
It's
banking,
Those
interesting
are the
these
most
two are having an
important. They're all
argument.
controlled by Jews. Okay,
okay.
BlackRock's controlled by Jews.
They
They control
typically
11
agree with
trillion
each
of
other, but
assets. Those
truth is right.
Street
But when
shows
you say
Vanguard.
controlled by Jews,
They're,
you mean some of
yes.
the board members are Jews and some of the
Well, all the
shareholders are
board
Jews.
members for BlackRock are Jews, and all the
No,
key
they're
board
not.
members in
That's not the case.
yes,
They're
it
not
is.
all
Well,
Jews.
yes, they are. You want me to name them for you? I can pull it up.
You
Look,
can name
I
you
don't
can
know.
name
I
the
don't care
ones
to
that
have this
are Jews.
conversation. It. Listen, Larry Fink is an arm of the Rothschilds, and he was funded by Steve Schwartzman from Blackstone. You want to tell me that it's not a
Correct.
Jewish
Correct.
operation that was a front for Aladdin, which
Correct.
controls the database
But
for all the financial data that they're also producing in addition to what Palantir is doing? Every single major tech company and a financial arm or financial entity that's around, whether it's commercial bank, investment bank, or central bank, is run by Jews, whether you like it or not. So it's the
yeah.
Jews that control all the major aspects of power within America and across Europe as well. They control the 157 central banks. That you want to say that it's structured through shell companies. I don't disagree, but go look and see who the real names are on those shells. They're going to hide it as much as they can. One shell controls another. I know how the game works. We saw through the Panama Papers. Ultimately, you know who's really in charge, and they want one state, Greater Israel Project, and they want to just disarm and control the resources in Iran. They want a stooge government that won't pose a
Um.
threat to Israel, so Israel can carry on with its building its Greater Israel Project, and ultimately do a great reset. And the least of their concerns is debt. Let it crash. They don't care. They can cancel the debt tomorrow if they want. It's no hair off their back. They only care about the interest payments. They can start up another debt. Okay, they'll start a new currency if they want. It's called the CBDC. You keep thinking there's concern that America's weak because of debt. Yeah, well, they've been saddled with debt since 1913. They're still, and especially so since 1970s when it really started to skyrocket after we got off Bretton Woods. From 74 onwards, it's the petrodollar that keeps around until you convince Gulf states to just come up with their own currency, which is what say someone like Gaddafi tried to do. Nothing's going to change because
Yeah, but
most of their assets are in American dollars, so their incentive is to keep the dollar going, and
yeah,
they're
but
going to keep buying up
they
U.S. debt just like
we've got to do
Japan
one
has.
point, otherwise we ain't gonna be able to debate. So how does the petrodollar work? The petrodollar is like an injection needle. It takes money out of America, you reinvest it into debt, and then you control America. So over the years of the petrodollar, uh, MBS has managed to accumulate for its country trillions of dollars of sovereign wealth, while America is burdened with the debt.
All of it
So
valued
now
in
he
dollars,
has,
right?
so now he has power over America in the negotiations because he's been
He has
draining.
zero power. He
He
couldn't join
does.
BRICS. He wanted to join BRICS. He was told not to. He gets
Yeah,
told
but
what to do.
if he
Who
wants to
showed up?
join BRICS,
Who
he needs
showed
to
up in Saudi
manage.
Arabia the day he was supposed to attend a BRICS summit meeting to officially accept full membership in the BRICS? It was
No,
Anthony Blinken, the
he
Jew
actually
from
went to
America,
the
the
he
de
actually
facto
went to the BRICS
president.
meeting.
Listen, you say, okay, this notion that you think the Gulf states have power over America is absolutely absurd. If they had power, they would have their own central banks and issue their own currency, and their sovereign wealth funds would only be invested in their own companies, and they have the autonomy to build their own weapons and defend their own borders. They have none of that. They have zero power. Just because they have a bunch of money in the bank that's in US dollars doesn't mean they have any agency or power. They get told how to spend their money. It's not a choice for them to go out and buy Russian weapons or go out and buy Chinese weapons. They have to buy American weapons, just like they couldn't join BRICS. They have to align with NATO and what the US tells them to do. So come on, man. Call a
Okay,
spade a
And
okay,
spade.
look,
Like,
Boeing
true,
stop
jets.
true.
And
gaslighting.
Boeing
But
jets.
I agree that that was all true to a certain point.
So then how can you say that they have power
Yes,
over
I'll
America
tell
when
you
they get
how.
told
I'll
what to
tell you
do?
how.
Why does Trump
Because
tell
times change,
MBS, you
power.
have to sign $1 trillion
You
agreement
believe.
with me if you want me to show
Look,
up in Riyadh? Why does he say that if MBS
here is
calls the
the
shots?
difference.
Why
Here
does
is
he
the
sit
difference.
there and wipe tears from his eyes because he got Trump to remove sanctions off his guy, his
Because
preferred guy, HTS and Al
MBS.
Jawlani? He's sitting there crying, oh, thank you so much, Trump, for allowing Al Qaeda to take over Syria. Do you think that's
Now
power? No,
you put too much.
that's in everyone's,
You
that's
give.
in their interest.
I'm sorry. You give too much credit to. You believe that this inevitable power structure can never change. and
I didn't say
therefore,
it'll never change. I'm calling it for what it is today. Nobody knows the future. I don't make
yeah.
predictions. It's
But
stupid. I don't know what kind of weapons are going to be used later. So I'm not speculating. You are.
I am
But the basis of
speculating
your
because that's what we're
speculation
going here.
is that there's no, but you and I, where you and I differ is on the actual power dynamic that exists today. You don't want to acknowledge and you want to deny, well, not all the key executive members in BlackRock are Jewish. You want to argue over petty stuff like that. But you know who calls the shots. You know who funds BlackRock. You know
I'm.
what their interests are, and that's to help Israel. They always have. And Larry Fink is a
It's
staunch
not.
Zionist, just like Mortimer Zucker, whatever his face is. It's a vanguard. So they're all on the same team, just like Steve Schwartzman is, just like
They are not.
Alex Karp
They are
is
not
when he says that
funneling.
we'll wipe out our enemies should they try to oppose us. So they're
Let's have a
all in there. They're
conversation,
all
Truth.
aligned.
They are not funneling money to Israel. They are funneling
They don't
money to
need to funnel money
themselves.
to Israel. Israel doesn't have to ask. The money gets funneled to them through foreign aid packages from America, from the UK. They're still getting reparations from Germany. What are you talking about, man?
Exactly, exactly. And then what is their
Okay, so
structure?
they have
That's a
unlimited
public
access to
company.
capital, and if ever in need, guess who assumes liability for all the debt that they incur? America, or America being the U.S. taxpayers. So they can incur all the debt they want. They can get all the money they want through the foreign aid funding, and and you already know that the likes of BlackRock and or the other private equity funds as well, like Kleiner Perkins, Anderson Horowitz, they invest in Israeli tech startups all the time. You think Sam Altman made it on freaking merit? You think on intelligence? He failed on his first company. He's a freaking dropout, and he's a homo. Okay, that guy made it because he was allowed to make it because guys like Michael Moritz and Larry Fink enabled him. That's how he runs OpenAI, the biggest AI company in the world. You want to tell me that wasn't as a result of nepotism and preferential treatment because he's a gay Jew? Come on, man.
Yeah, but
Seriously, Simon, come on. Between OpenAI, Palantir, between
sitting there,
BlackRock, State Street,
if you
Vanguard, I
think
can
that
go
they're
on all through
sitting
all the
there and
list of
optimizing
corporations.
for
It's BlackRock,
the
State
truth,
Street,
you've
and
got to have a
Vanguard
back
that
and
call the
forth
shots.
conversation,
And you
otherwise
want
it
to,
ain't going to
you
help
still want to
anyone.
gaslight and claim it's America. It's not America. It's Jewish-run companies that control all the
True.
major tech and finance institutions within America and across the world because they're
There's no
global as
point.
well.
Like, let's just do it back and forth, otherwise people ain't going to learn. All right, so there is a disproportionate number of Jewish people that have access to capital and that have board
They
seats.
control
Does
capital.
that mean that BlackRock is optimizing for a Jewish agenda and Zionism, or does it mean they're optimizing for profit?
Both. Why do you think that they're mutually exclusive? Why can't it be both?
Of course they're not,
They're gonna make the, but
because
Simon, here's the part.
funding
You think
Israel
that they
doesn't make
make
shit
profit the
money.
conventional way. Simon, you think they care about checks and balances, balance sheets and income statements and cash flow. They don't care about any of that stuff. They do things illegally and immorally. The way they see profit is we're gonna go fund and enable, say, what's happening in the Ukraine conflict right now, the special military operation. We'll fund and arm
But why are
Ukraine.
they
And
doing
then
that? They're doing
hold
it
on,
for
let me
their
finish.
share
Let me
price.
finish the statement to let you understand how BlackRock operates. We're going to create conflict in Ukraine by allowing Zelensky to destroy the Donbass like his predecessor Poroshenko did, and then we'll swoop in while they're losing and tell Zelensky sell half your assets to us for pennies on the dollar, exactly what they did in Russia in the 1990s. That's but BlackRock was around then as well, but
Okay, let's
they
stick
were
to that
again
one.
it was Rothschild directly then. That's how these people make their
I
profits. They're
know,
not making their
truth.
profits by going in like China peacefully and saying, "Hey,
Truth,
we'll
stick to
build your
one point,
infrastructure
otherwise we
in
can't learn
exchange
shit.
for you give us better, you guys get us a better deal on your precious metals, your raw metals." They don't make deals like that. They do deals
Truth.
through war. You already know. You've already said it yourself. It's proof of war, proof of violence concept for them to be able to make their profit. So they're not interested in doing
Okay,
good
stop
faith
stop
deals that are
there.
where
We
they
got enough
enable
points.
symbiotic relationships.
Okay, now we know exactly how BlackRock works, and you know that I know that because I say the same thing. But what is their optimization? It's share price. Why do you think that it's Jewish power that they're
They can
optimizing for?
artificially inflate the stock price any way they want. They manipulate stock. They cause market crashes all the time. They go out and buy
Yes.
back, or they do
Yeah.
stock buybacks
So they
all the
have hedge
time with
funds for that.
money they create out of thin air. So I don't
But
understand you. So
but
their
that's
stock price can
money.
be
That's
artificially
money.
manipulated anytime they want.
That is that is not ideology.
Dude,
That is
look at the
profit.
S&P 500 on the Nasdaq. There's 5 or 6 main companies that the reason why it's as high as it is. Okay, that are worth $2-3 trillion, whether it's
Truth.
Microsoft, Apple,
We're saying
Nvidia,
the same
etc.
thing.
And
The
who controls
answer,
those companies? Okay,
truth,
all
we're
the other
saying
companies struggle
it's
while these
controlled.
ones are artificially manipulated with their elevated stock prices, just like Tesla. Why is Tesla price valued at 4 times more than NYD in China when NYD makes more revenue than Tesla does? You want to tell me there's no
I'm
artificial stimulation of
truth.
that inflation of that stock price?
Truth.
Come
We've
on, you
been
know
on
the stock
space.
market's BS.
Truth. We've been on space after space. You know that I know all that. But what I'm saying is one singular question. What is that profit being motivated by? Is it being motivated by
World, the
profit?
global Jewry, control of all resources,
Well,
and
no,
control of access to those resources by dependent states. That's what it's
that's not
motivated by. Because
global
as they enter
Jewry.
each country, they want to control its resources, as they just recently did in Ukraine, as they've done across Middle Eastern countries. And of course, they're going to install puppet regimes, some of which will need debt capital from the IMF and World Bank, and they won't have the agency to say no. Otherwise, they'll get replaced. These people will use violence and any means necessary to control who's in power, whether they're Jewish or not. It doesn't matter. They'll take Shabbaskoy as well. So we can even take that off the table. Either you submit and bow down to the Jew, or they'll replace you with a Jew or someone who's going to be submissive enough to take their money. It's that simple. Plata o plomo, as they would say the Colombian cartel leaders. Okay, it's either your signature or it's going to be your blood on the contract. You decide. I don't see why this is complicated for you. And guess who's running the cartels in Colombia and Mexico? The Jews as well. Mossad was the one providing their weapons. So they have a history of doing this. I'm really confused as to why you're trying to gaslight the audience thinking, oh, they just have profit motive and they just want to optimize their balance sheets. They're doing things the right way, checks and balances in place. And you know what? Moody's
I
and
didn't say
S&P,
they're
they're
doing
going to
it the
sign
right
off on
way.
their
I'm
bond
saying
deals
this is
as
a
well when
criminal
they're
network.
financed by the same greedy banks as well. Simon, there's conflict of interest all over the place. These people do not operate in good faith. They never have, and nothing's changed now. You have this glorious, this optimistic view of the world. I don't know why, whatever. I'm not trying to be racist here, but come on, this is absurd for you not to call out the fact that these Jews in charge, not all Jews, the Jews in charge are
Exactly,
freaking
that's the
evil.
bit, T. You got
They
to
just
get to
want to
that. It's
concentrate
not
the
all
wealth in their
Jews. That's
hands.
the
And
thing.
really what that
You were
is
saying
global
it's just
communism.
Jews, and it's not.
It's global communism because they want to render all the countries of the world and their citizens as debt servants while they control the capital and the resources. In
And
very simple terms.
you believe that Larry Fink is reading the Talmud and saying, I'm optimizing for that, not for shareholder value.
Well, irrespective of whether he's reading the Talmud or not, I believe he went to Hebrew school, and he might claim they're atheists. First of all, I don't believe anything a Jew says. He could say he's never read it before. I'm still not going to believe him because I'm sorry, Jews lie all the time. But two, the whole concept of usury comes from the Talmud and the 198 mitzvah, where Jews are commanded to charge usurious rates to the
Sure, but
Gentile. So you
Christians
can't say that they're this profit motive and
Christians violated that just as much.
their lending capacity doesn't stem from their religion. It absolutely
I
does.
can
But why
blame
do they have
Israel.
kosher, Simon? Why
Guys,
do they
before we
have
go too
kosher loans?
far,
Just secondly, why do they
sorry,
have kosher loans and then why do they have
Can you
regular
talk
loans
one
if
at
you
a
don't
time?
think
It's
they
like
make a
30
distinction?
seconds each.
truth.
30 seconds each.
Simon, sorry. Before we go too far, all right, let's have a little break and let's let Jafar jump in. He wanted to add to.
You have any updates, Nathan?
Say again.
You have any updates?
I've been doing bits in the background. I've been sending them to Sully. I don't know if he's here or not. I'm not sure.
Anything you can announce or mention?
Just give me a second.
Any new hits? Any new missiles incoming?
No, not at the moment. Let me just have
I
a
think
quick
the
look.
missiles
guys
are
are
all
tuned
here.
in though, hit that repost button. I think in a bit it's gonna start getting lit. It seems like it.
So this is the calm before the storm.
So it's gonna start getting lit. Yeah.
Calm
It's
before the storm.
it's not nighttime here yet, so give it maybe an hour or a bit. I think we'll see fireworks. But
Hey,
in
Jafar,
terms
you
of,
said you're in Lebanon. Did you feel the impact and reverberations from those bombs that dropped in that fifth wave?
I'm so upset. I didn't feel anything. I didn't see anything. But where my brother's wife is and my nephews in Tir, Sur, they have videos of the missiles flying above them, which looked amazing.
Just some breaking news, guys. I put it in the nest, and I just didn't want to interrupt the Truth Salmon debate, and then I just went off for the last few minutes. But it's This adds to mine and Truth's position. I think the IAEA Director General said Iran's underground enrichment facilities at Natanz are intact, with only surface facilities damaged. So that's the IAEA, who basically we know are in bed with the Zionists. But even they're saying that the nuclear facilities are not damned. I remember, to be honest, like I don't want to say we were right, but like we were saying it right from day zero. Like we don't know the extent of the
We can
damage.
Yeah,
say we told
actually,
them so.
it's
We can say we
their
told them so. It's okay, Solomon.
yeah, no, their spokesman Behruz Kamalvandi said on Friday that there have been accidents at the Ferdo uranium enrichment facility in the country's north, adding the Islamic Republic's main enrichment site in the central city of Natanz has suffered, quote, superficial damage, end quote, as a result of the assault. But this is coming from the AEOI's spokesman.
Yeah, the one I said came from the IAEA. So the point being, coming back to it, like I don't think the neutral, the pro-Israel, and even they're saying the damage to Iran in terms of the nuclear facilities and various facilities is extremely minimal. And that's something I realized when they were like, "Oh, Israel's bombing." I was like, "Wait a sec, like we don't know the extent or depth." So I don't want to say I'm always right, but like we're always
But you're
right.
always right.
Exactly, bruv. Like I told you, doctor. You know when you were like you should take some prayers. You need to realize that's very easy for me. Let me pass the mic
It's all
back to
good.
1
Jules.
minute.
What he said.
I just wanted to make the distinction between what Israeli media reports and what's realistic and makes sense. And now you have a third party, a non-trusted one like the IAEA, which certainly isn't on Iran's side, confirming what we already knew, that they never had access to be able to destroy. And I was saying that for months before this bombing campaign, that they just can't access them because they're just too far underground. They don't have the weaponry. They can cause enough of a dent within the surface to be able to get to 500 meters deep. It doesn't exist, not yet anyway.
Right. So, Sully, I sent you an important update that you need to check.
I'll check that now, brother. Appreciate it. And keep up the great work, and I pass the
So,
mic back
so
back to you.
I've seen reports that the British and the Americans are going to come to the aid of Israel. This is only defensive, right, at this stage?
They've already come to their aid.
No, they've announced it though. They're announcing it.
So is
I know, but they
the
were
But
doing
they
it
already
since
are.
day one.
government is
They already
close to
announced that like
Third World War,
2 hours ago.
and how
As
can
in, they're saying they're kind of joining the fight, right? Does it look like that there's taking of sides and like kind of posturing? What's going on here?
No, I doubt.
Well, in my,
I doubt they're going to take sides. Well, I mean, they are taking sides, but what I mean is they're not going to get involved in any sort of offensive operations.
They're not going to start launching missiles from London or from Paris. They're not going to go that far, but they're going to support Israel with whatever it needs in terms of weaponry, money, or well, even weapons delivery, I suppose.
Probably they may
And
even help with
they,
refueling as
they
well.
may help defensively as well and trying to, if there's a drone
They
launch, then
might
yeah,
even
they'll
give
send their
away
fighter
some
jets.
soldiers.
No, well, they're definitely going to be one side. They're
The
definitely
U.S.
going
has
to
sent
be
soldiers.
one side. They're definitely going to be helping with defense. There's no doubt about that. But there is also a possibility that they are giving limited support on the operations, like possibly with refueling or even intelligence and surveillance.
so what do you think that Iran is the last target for and there will be no more expansion for Israel to attack on other countries, and when it will stop? And like Iran, you see that there are Muslim world is divided into two bigger groups,
One sec,
Shia
Brother
and
Khalid.
Sunni.
Brother Khalid, sorry, because you kind of jumped in anyway. So I'm going to ask you a question. Are you in Iran?
No, I'm in Pakistan, but
So
I
can I
see
ask
that
you a question? One minute.
Why do you sound
1
like
minute.
one of Modi's
Sorry,
boys?
1 minute. Sorry. Just real quickly. Can I ask you a question? If you don't mind. So,
yes.
what do you think about Pakistan supporting Iran? Do you think that they should help with defensive and offensive, or you think they should just help with defensive?
Okay, that's more like you can say that this is a political statement, and political statements are very easy to make. The reality is
No, but
totally
I'm asking
different.
you. No. Sorry, sir. I'm
They
asking
didn't have
you.
to say anything. That's
Bro,
sort of a
this
big
guy
deal. They
sounds like
said
he's
that.
25. He doesn't look like the photo.
Answer the question, Modi's boy.
Yeah, I'm asking you a question as a Pakistani. Do you think that your government should help Iran defend itself against Israel, and also maybe even help to help with offensive operations if they need it?
Like openly, not possible. But yes,
Not
and
possible?
like
They share a border. What do you mean it's not possible? They can send
yeah,
troops over.
openly, like
Not
openly, I
possible. He
don't.
wants Modi and his Zayo boys to hit the border.
No, it's
Khalid, you can just say you don't want them to, but it's definitely possible and feasible. You just don't support it. I don't know why you're beating around the bush.
no.
Stop
They
gaslighting.
It's
can
okay,
they
guys. All right, listen. It's all right. Let's give him 2 minutes, so then we can move the conversation forward. So, Khalid,
so
we'll give you 2 minutes.
yeah. Okay, so I think that it's actual and the real support is that involvement in the war. But I feel that Iran will be finally it will be standalone, and other countries maybe just making promises and things like this. But I fear that after Iran, who is next? So that's the point, and whether it will
Did you
be.
forget that Ansar Allah and Hezbollah support Iran and they're based out of Lebanon and Yemen? So when you say stand alone,
Yeah, standalone means that these Muslim countries all around it, they will be make like verbal statement, very big statement, but in actual, because I told you that the
Which
Muslim
one is a
world is
threat to
divided.
Israel? Which one is a threat to Israel? Which of the other nations is a threat?
Threat to the Israel.
Yeah, you're saying which state is next. I'm asking you which one is actually a threat for it to be next.
Yeah, this is what I'm asking. That
There is no
when it
other
will,
threat.
when this will stop, like it is spreading, expansion motives are spreading, so finally it will erupt into a third world war, because there are some big players sitting and they will not be watching forever that some of these partner gloves in the hand
So push
to
push your
achieve
government
this.
to support
Hassan,
Iran
Hassan,
and
Hassan,
deliver.
Hassan, Hassan, Hassan. Just relax. Let him finish, please, so that we can keep the conversation moving. I don't need you to jump in every 2 seconds, brother. Thank you. Khalid, can you wrap it up, please, brother, so that we can keep the conversation moving, please?
Thank you.
Well, are you finished, Daniel? Or did you get
Job done.
I think that was a double mute.
Yeah, let's move forward. I'm getting some reports, guys, of Netanyahu Milikowski, known as Netanyahu, claiming that there's going to be jets flying over Iran, Tehran soon, and that he's looking to bomb some more civilians. He's looking to take out some more women and children, and looking to take out some more scientists, like things like this. So stay tuned, guys, because it seems like Netanyahu is about to send some jets out there, and it seems like it's about to get started here. If I'm Iran here, I'm not waiting for a further response. Because you just never know with these genociders and how far they'll take their next response. So, I would not wait too long on waiting for a response from the genocider entity, as you
I
just
mean, the
really
only
never
thing this
know.
guy can guarantee is the women and children. So
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. That's why you don't want to wait for an Israeli response, because that's the problem. They're gonna just kill women and children, and they're just gonna keep going until they're stopped with force. So this is the only way to stop the genocider entity.
Thank you, Nathan, for bringing me up. In terms of Khalid's question, I'm going to answer him, and the answer to him is actually going to go back to the conversation with Simon and Truth. In terms of Iran, Saudi Arabia doesn't control or have any form of power over the Americans. I'm an Arab and I'm a Muslim, but every single Arab and Muslim country, and I'm not being disrespectful, is a slave to America. That's the best term I can use. They're a slave to the Americans and Israelis. Whether they're slaves due to personal gain or fear, doesn't matter. The Saudis, the Qataris, the Jordanians, the Egyptians, all of them. And the only ones standing in the way is the Iranians, the Yemenis, Lebanese, and the Iraqis. Now, Simon, in terms of your analysis, there's a disconnect between you and truth. And the disconnect is, and I'm not being disrespectful, by the way, but truth is speaking on facts and what's been happening. You're speaking on speculation with no evidence that can really back you up. In terms of, you've been constantly saying about normalization between Iran and the Israelis, Abraham Accords. That there's no logical proof that you can bring that is anything to even speculate about. The regime change is a forced regime change because Iran is against the Israelis, and the Iranians supply the resistance in Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq. So these are the only countries, the only people fighting them, and it's
Yeah,
all for
Jaffa.
Israel. Go ahead, Mo.
Jaffa. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with. I see where Simon's coming from, but I see also where Jaffa and Truth are coming from. I don't think this is part of a plan that the central bankers want. I do see where Simon's coming from, though, that there is a lot of central banking backers that are making huge loads of money off of this. But I believe they really truly do want to decimate Iran. I believe it goes back to what Truth Teller was talking about earlier. There's trillions of dollars on the line here. that they're wanting to get through, via, bombing people, women and children, bombing people out of their houses, bombing them all, so that they could take the land and the resources. And
Exactly.
so, so this is why I
Installing a
see
puppet
the
there.
Okay, so
more so true teller in your
let me
side.
put that
Wait,
together.
let me just finish my point,
Sure.
Simon. Just one more sentence. The whole point is installing a puppet, which is what the Americans have wanted to do forever. Israel is not going anywhere. They're expanding. There's no way of Israel being a two-state solution or even a one-state solution. Israel is going to be Israel unless the ones against it destroy it. And the only ones who are standing in the way of this and the final chapter of Israel and the expansion and the control over the region and the economics is Iran. I love it when you speak about economics. I genuinely love it. But when you begin to talk about the geopolitics, you only bring economics into it. You miss out like Suleiman said like 2 hours ago, the geopolitical aspect of it and the ideological aspect of it.
Okay, so let me answer that. Firstly, I come from a fundamental belief that, regardless of my ideology, as a Muslim, my ideology is serve humanity and fight oppression, and put your financial interest behind you as a secondary thing, and Allah rewards you depending on His plan. That's my ideology. If I come to that plan and try and negotiate with a US corporation, my ideology doesn't mean shit. They're going to say, what's in it for me? How much money are you going to give me? And it is game theory that determines what I'm analyzing here. And so analyzing based upon ideology is how you fit into how some people might act. But then you have to ask who has the power. And power dynamics is what's going to determine the outcome of this. I could sit here all day and say, I would like a one-state solution called Palestine. And I will advocate for that. And I'll give you all my ideological reasons why I think a bunch of settler colonialists that were engaging in profit activity and killing, raping, massacring children day in, day out in a multi-decade campaign is evil and is going to put you in hell, and you're going to burn, and you're going to go to hellfire for that. But that ain't going to change. What I say isn't because I don't control the power. I don't have the power. I'm not negotiating at the seat. Who has the power? And so I look at who has the power and what do they want, and I try to come to a game theoretical scenario. There's not going to be evidence for that. There's not going to be a source. You're not going to look at a press release, because nothing that is in a press release is reality. A press release is what they want you to believe, or it might be real journalism that actually investigates something, and you need to make that distinction. Everything they are telling
Okay, I've got
you
a
is
question.
based upon what they want you to believe. That doesn't mean it's what they're doing. And so I look at what they're actually doing, and I try and put together a game theoretical scenario. Now, how do I analyze Iran? I believe that there is an ideological based resistance that has gone through severe colonization, CIA covert regime changes, um, raping, pillaging, and stealing of resources, all sorts of colored revolutions, interference, because at the end of the day, let's face it, the British Petroleum wanted your oil, and so therefore they painted a narrative, and there's been a resistance against it. And at some point, there comes a change in power dynamics. And what I believe we're witnessing right now in Iran is that there is a bunch of ideologies. And I believe that when that helicopter came down, the new prime minister subscribed to a new ideology. And that ideology was a pragmatic, and it was different to the previous prime minister, which is why that previous prime minister needed to go down in a helicopter. And who is negotiating at the table? And what is it that they need? And what is it that they're happening? And I believe that we are witnessing those that did not subscribe to the ideology being assassinated right now. And those that do subscribe to whatever the powers, the people that do control the power in the moment, they're being leveraged and they're being forced into a corner, and they are being told, here's a vision of the future. We don't have to get on, but here's the deals that we do have to do. And here's the thing: your sanctions are going to lead to this result. Your divide and or our divide and conquer strategy is likely to lead to this result. And there are a bunch of people that are sat around a table deciding what is the best thing for our people. And I believe that the people that do control the power, and I know that we want to go down this simplest mindset that those in Saudi, those in Qatar, those in UAE are traitors, they work for Zionists, they're puppet regimes. If we want to be that simplified, it's obvious that you can come to that argument. But what if there is a change in power dynamics? What about if over the years, over the decades, they've now found themselves in a position where they have sovereign wealth and America doesn't? And America is at the end of a debt cycle. And America has a different goal right now based upon the fact that they're in the same place where the British Empire was pre-World War One. And they need to actually have a regime change. And they regime changed and they put in Trump. And Trump was there in order to implement tariffs because the CEO of Saudi Aramco is now on the board of BlackRock. And now he's on the board of BlackRock. He actually has influence, which may just, I know you may not think that they are the version of Islam that you want them to be, but they call themselves a Muslim. And in that version of what they're saying a Muslim, that has depleted some of the Jewish power on that board, if you think everyone's analyzing based upon ideology. And what if, those...
First of all, you are you really trying to say that one BlackRock executive board member can override the power
Of
of
course,
the others?
of not truth, and that is
Then
disingenuous.
why would you even mention whether it's one Muslim Zionist guy who's on the board with the other Jewish Zionists who get along?
There are things.
It means there's alignment of interest there.
There are things that determine power. You list them all the time.
Yes.
But what you don't list is you don't list the non-Jewish power. You don't list other forms of power. You just focus
they don't
on
have
Jewish
any real power because the real power
That's
is,
not
is
true.
through the monetary
That's not
system
true.
that the Jews in charge control.
Jewish people are not inevitably predictable.
Well,
I mean, you can.
I believe that Jewish power that you focus on can be changed over time, and I believe that it is.
They're not giving it up. Yeah, that only happened with violence and destruction, and a show of force because they're not giving it up.
Right. True. So you have two forms of
Nathan
power.
has an announcement.
Hey guys, I didn't really want to mute, but you guys, like, I don't know if you can hear me. Just let me give this breaking news real quick. All right. So, Israeli Channel 12 are reporting the cabinet was given assessments warning that the expected number of Israeli fatalities from the operation could range from between 800 and 4,000. Also, we have another one, Israeli Channel 11.
Just to clarify, wait, it's possible. Can you repeat this? So they're saying there's between 800 and 4,000.
No. Sorry. So basically, this is an assessment that was given, right? It says the cabinet was given assessments warning that the expected number of Israeli fatalities from the operation could range from between 800 and 4,000.
All right, I understand.
So the upcoming operation, they're expecting that many
there's
fatalities.
also,
What's been ongoing?
Wait, guys, 1 minute, please. Also, Tasnim news agency is reporting that 16 suspects were arrested in Isfahan for collaborating with Israel.
Were they Jews?
It doesn't say if they were Jews or not. I'll see if I can dig in. Get
that first piece of news, though, what that first piece of news, though, means is that Israel is preparing to continue to bomb Iran and justify it.
Yeah, they're okay with 4,000 Jewish deaths. So
just one last update, guys. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has confirmed that the air defense systems previously stationed in Ukraine have been redeployed to American bases across the Middle East.
Ukraine's screwed.
So they've been redeployed for Israel.
No wonder Russia's happy about this.
You're welcome, Russia.
Sorry, I got one more coming in. Breaking news. This has just come in. Says Israeli strikes reportedly targeted the Sirev air defense base in southern Iran. A power outage has been reported in the residential complexes of the nearby Jam refinery. Further explosions also reported in Tabriz.
I'm getting some reports too that the Iranian foreign minister has informed his counterparts that Tehran would be ready to resume negotiations after responding to Israel, which I think is a big mistake. Already trying to assume that Israel's looking for peace anytime soon. I don't think they are. It seems they're looking to actually bomb, as Netanyahu just came out as well, saying thank you, happy
Sorry, did you
birthday
say?
to Donald Trump, and
Yeah,
thank
so
you
I
as
got
well.
a
So it looks like
Sorry, can you repeat that? Did you
they
say?
got a
Did
lot
you
more
say
to
they want to
come.
negotiate?
Iran has a birthday present for Trump as well. This is from the spokesman. The 2000 missile launch was mentioned, and they say it'll be 20 times the size of the previous launch. So they're only gonna. It's the escalation is only
It's
increasing.
a
So
big,
that's probably
beautiful
where that
present.
All right,
estimate
1
of
minute, guys.
the
1 minute.
thousands of
Sorry,
fatalities
guys.
expected.
Let him finish, guys. Go on, Truth. We can't all speak at the same time, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I believe that assessment that came from Israel is based on what they're anticipating, and again, that's I believe a conservative estimate. The real numbers are going to be much higher, and the numbers are already high. Israel just lies. They've probably had tens, if not probably close to 100 fatalities by now. Given that what Iran has stated is they struck 150 separate strikes with precision, missile strikes. I'll read it out. This is from the Revolutionary Guard Commander's advisor. The operation included 150 targets, and the strikes were executed with precision and in stages. Well, we saw that. We delivered a strong blow to Israel, so it realizes it has made a major miscalculation. And now you see they're escalating based on what they've already done. So if they hit 150 sites last time, we'll see how many they strike this time. Although I think there'll just be repeated strikes on some of the other ones as well.
I want to
Just
clear
real
something up
quickly,
in terms of what Mo.
Jafar, 1 minute. So I've got another report here. Sorry, let me just get it up. Where did it go? It's all right. I have to come back to it.
Can I just give a quick update?
Go for it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
It's
this is
news update.
confirmed
Yeah.
by
Stick
Al
to breaking
Jazeera.
news.
Yeah, Britain is moving warplanes to Middle East, apparently, according to Al Jazeera Arabic.
Yeah, that's other news that the UK, that Britain, the UK has announced that they are moving jets to the Middle East as well, aka for Israel's behalf. So this is being funded by Western taxpayer dollars here, being stolen for Israel.
It didn't work against Yemen.
Sorry, Jafar. I've got it now. So Iraq asks Iran not to attack any U.S. base on its soil to incur the wrath of the United States. So Iraq is asking Iran to not strike any bases inside of Iraq.
Hey,
Also, we
Nathan.
have the French president, Emmanuel Macron, says, I quote, I spoke with the Iranian president and called on him to return to negotiating table. What a scumbag. Why hasn't he not called fucking Benjamin to fucking Satan Yahoo and fucking got him to come back to the fucking table?
Didn't
That's
you
crazy.
just like a couple of hours ago or Suleiman say that the UK had just pulled out and denounced what Israel is doing and is not going to be participating? Isn't
I'm not
them
quite sure.
moving their
I'm not quite sure.
military?
I got one. Sorry, I just got one more just so I can
Yes.
finish this.
Yeah.
What you
That's
said.
why you never listen to what they're saying. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so
That was my
President
point.
Trump and President Putin spoke on the phone today for about 50 minutes. Putin told Trump that he condemned the Israeli attack on Iran. The two did not rule out the possibility of returning to negotiations regarding the Iranian nuclear program. And then the last one I'm going for you guys is, it might be oldest, but I'm going to do it anyway. So the IAEA says 4 critical structures at the Isfahan nuclear site were damaged in yesterday's attack, including the uranium enrichment facility and the fuel rod production plant. As in the case of Natanz, there is no increase in radiation levels outside of the site.
There's not much damage. Nathan, what I'd say to those for those countries that are calling for return to negotiation, etc., that's admitting Israel's losing or they're getting struck hard. Because if Israel is winning, then they'd say Israel has a right to defend itself, and there'd be a whole lot more footage of whatever's happening in Iran. If they're actually in any way
But
incapacitated.
you know what that means, right?
Well,
That
then
means
based on those declarations or those requests, hey, come back to negotiations, ceasefire, etc. Please stop hitting Israel so hard is the translation. Please end this now.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this brings credibility to the report that came earlier, where they were saying that Iran said that through other countries they were being asked to stop the attack. So it kind of adds up now with Macron's statement as well.
In terms of negotiations, I just want to make, again, this goes back to the ideology, because I follow it. When it comes to wartime, you guys might not, you might think it's a dictatorship, but during wartime, the declaration of war was given by the supreme leader, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, Ayatollah, if you want to call him that. And everything now is in his hands. So when you hear foreign ministry say we're open to no, the final say during these times, during war times, is going to be with Sayyid Ali. So if it's war, it's war.
Yeah, that would be better because you know you don't. The thing about Israel is they're already Netanyahu's already made threats that he's gonna send more genocider planes over there. So you really don't want to be negotiating too soon, because they'll take that as weakness and then they will massacre more women and children as we've seen them do to Gaza, Palestine. But another massive breaking news. This is huge news that just broke out right now. Israeli media report that the IDF has evacuated several bases in preparation for a quote unquote tough night ahead. So tune in because this seems like the start of something much, much bigger is incoming.
Just two things in terms of, well, I completely forgot, my bad.
Sorry,
That's not-
has anybody mentioned the US jet, the UK jets being sent to the region on the space? Yeah, sorry if I missed it.
Yeah, they don't need to be sent to the region. The US, you said US or UK? Sorry.
UK, no UK, because
Yeah,
I
they
just
don't
seen on
need to.
BBC
They
News.
already have bases. In
No. The BBC News have said that Starmer is saying they're sending more jets to the
Yeah,
region.
but the UK sending more jets out to for Israel.
So they must be sending aircraft carriers then.
No, they don't have aircraft carriers. I don't know how they send them. They probably, I don't know how they deploy them, but the UK hasn't got any aircraft carriers.
No, they were fighter jets.
Hey, by the way, has did Syria actually take out an Israeli jet? I remember seeing a report saying that.
No,
That didn't happen, eh?
No
they
chance.
don't have
No
any
chance.
weapons.
That was Iran. Iran took out a fighter jet.
That would have been amazing. You know, I remember seeing this one video where where the Syrian dude is filming.
Well, what's wrong that Iran did it?
There's nothing
Why
wrong.
isn't it amazing that Iran did it?
No, I'm saying it would have been amazing if Syria did it.
Yeah, why isn't
They
it
don't have air
amazing that
defense
Iran did it?
systems.
Yeah, it's gone. Why isn't it amazing
Yeah,
that Iran did
Syria's
it?
actually right
It's
now
amazing if they
letting them
both did it.
actually. Right, Syria right now, unfortunately, is actually allowing these Israelis to reload the fuel in their bomber jets
And
That's
they've
right
what
given
I'm
up
now.
their
saying. It would have been
airspace too.
cool if some rogue guy came out of nowhere and took out that fuel tanker. That would have been amazing to see that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fictional. Let's talk about what's actually happened and what's realistic. What's cool? What could have been? Who cares? Anyway,
So the UK fighter jets. Why are they sending them across? Why the UK positioning
probably
them
to
Because
help
closer?
Keir
intercept
Starmer is a
missiles and drones.
genocider.
The same reason why American fighter
So
jets are in
so
the sky
the
too.
fighter jets can't intercept missiles, right? They can only intercept drones. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's been part of the
Depends on the type of missile. The hypersonics, they have no chance at.
Yeah, the hypersonics they can't even keep up with. But I'm pretty sure they do use them to shoot down more than just drones.
So they're probably bringing them into for the drones and for the
Yeah,
cruise
if
missiles.
you're
Probably
asking
that's what
what's
it
the
sounds like.
reason why the UK are bringing the planes, yes, it's coming over to shoot down incoming.
It's to help Israel.
That's all it is. They did the same thing last time. I don't know if you didn't know that, but yeah, France,
Yeah, no,
UK.
I did, but I don't know if it's like an escalation
No,
or a
no,
threat
no,
to
no,
Iran or
no,
maybe
no. They
it's.
can't listen. No one. There's going to be nobody that's going to be doing any escalation on Iran because they can't. Right? They just can't do that. The only person, or say the only country other than Israel that will have the balls to do it will be United States. Let's be realistic. The UK,
And it's
obviously, they have to maintain that neutral status so that they
the
don't, because
UK.
if they attack Iran first, they give Iran legal justification to attack them. So they have to maintain the neutral status.
The
Or
UK
at least
though is
appear to
sending
be. Sorry,
soldiers.
both. At least they have to at least appear to be keeping neutral.
Right, and I agree with that. But the UK is sending soldiers too out, and the US as well. They're both sending soldiers out already as we speak. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of Western soldiers from the UK and from the US that are about to lose their lives just in order to protect Netanyahu's political position. So
Do you think it'll
tune in,
escalate
guys.
to that? You think it'll escalate to that
Yeah,
level though?
This is
it looks like it
posturing.
is. A lot of people think that it's not because in the media, it seems like the UK and the US are trying to distance themselves and seem like, oh, this is just Israel, but they're already in the trenches right now, already with Israel, trying to defend them. And I believe they are also helping with the offense. Israel cannot reach Iran without the help of the Western imperialist powers, colonial powers, the UK government and the US government. They cannot even touch or even sniff Iran without their help. So they're already well involved in this war, and they're going to keep getting more involved as this prolongs.
I think you guys saw, and you guys have said a lot of civilians have been killed today in Iran. That there was a gathering of civilians that were attacked. So what changed between the first day and today? The first day they had a lot of targets to attack. Now they're attacking civilians and hospitals. That's because their first day, their first attack, they assumed, just like what they done with the pager attack, that they would reach Beirut. That was their plan. The first attack that they done against Iran, they thought that that's it, it's going to be crippled. But now they have no more targets to apply. That's why they're reaching out for negotiations. And I believe the British and the Americans are posturing.
Just real quickly, so you guys kind of like drew me back before when you guys said the UK doesn't have no aircraft carriers. That was a bit weird. So yes, the UK does have aircraft. They have two, the HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales, just to be clear.
I thought they decommissioned them, but okay, fair enough. I must be wrong.
And it's blasphemous that they're sending that one out because Queen Elizabeth did not like Israel. She's been quoted before, with her not liking them. So the fact that they're using that against what possibly would be against her will if she was still alive, I mean, this just goes to show the disgrace of these slaves, these political peasants who work for Israel.
Princess Diana didn't like Israel as well, and look what happened to her.
Well, there is a theory that's going around for the last so many years now that states that she was about to start going to campaign for Palestine. This comes from the ex intelligence officer. Was it? I can't remember the names on the tip of my tongue. I have to get it out. But basically, she said that around that time, she was about to announce that she was going to start campaigning for Palestine.
Yeah, same with Michael Jackson. He was about to release a song for Palestine, and then suddenly he gets accused of being a paedophilia.
So we got Imran. I don't know if you've actually spoken already. Imran hashtag.
Yeah, I gave in the news about the UK moving fighter jets across the region, and I just wanted to give some updates, but then you came in and you gave the updates that were supposed to be given, so that's fine.
No worries. I know you had been up for a long time. I couldn't remember if you had spoken or not, so I didn't want to just leave you out, brother. I know
All right, no problem.
yeah,
Thank you.
no worries. It's all good. Solomon, are you here? No worries.
I have some more news to cover, guys. So Thomas Massey just posted the final result of a poll, and a question he asked: should the United States be giving Israel weapons to make war with Iran? And the most majority of people, 126,000 votes that came in, 85% voted no, that we should not be giving Israel weapons to make war with Iran. So let's see if these APEC paid politicians follow what the American people want. 126,000 votes. It's a lot of votes. So it just goes to show the majority of people in America do not support the genocide or entity named Israel and their quest and the colonial conquests that basically evaporates our tax dollars as we speak and kills people, genocides people that have never given us any issues. So this is the poll that just came in. Thomas Massey also covered a video about the IDF. Did they post a video from 8 months ago depicting missiles launched last night? And he has a link to that video from 8 months after that that showcases that this video that the IOF posted, where they said this is the raw footage of Iran launched multiple missiles right? They basically were posting it from a 2024 clip. So they lie about everything. You know, the IOF pretty much lies about everything. This clip was found out to be a complete lie as well and exposed. So that's some breaking news too going on right now these last few hours.
Yeah, and that's probably after the IDF paid for all the votes to get it, like the rest of it. Nobody stands with this shit, man, especially on the internet. The next generation does not stand with Israel. They know what the hell's going on here.
It sounds like
Yeah,
the
85%,
Just real
guys.
quickly, I do have a bit of
85%.
an update for you guys, right? This is gonna be a bit of good news. I don't know if you guys have heard this one yet. So you know how the Israelis have been showing these videos of them supposedly taking out air defense systems, missile launchers? Well, if you actually look at the video, because I was actually looking at one video and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's fucking nothing in that. So then I read one description, and that's what they've been doing. So the Iranians have been putting out decoys for the Israelis to hit, and I think that's very clever. And I'm so glad that, because I was so worried that they wasn't going to play these mind games. That I didn't think that they knew that they had to play these mind games, but I'm so glad to see this and know that they are, because you have to do these type of games with the Israelis, and I think it's very clever, because by doing that, it allows them to learn the system. They can find ways to find tactics to actually take them down. So if they actually have took them down within, like, what was it, like the second or maybe like the third or fourth wave, it was whenever the first claim came out. I think that with the previous attack and the first few waves, I think they've been using decoys to find and master ways to take these planes down. And I think as time goes on, they'll probably bring more down. Because if you remember, after the first strike months back, you remember all these kangas were online saying that all the air defense systems were destroyed and Iran was naked. Oh, they can just go in and take Tehran and all this other bullshit. I don't know where these kangas are now. I noticed that
You
none of
see
these
the.
kangas are about now.
And meanwhile, they're still taking out drones, in Bandar Abbas and other cities as we speak. Just two real quick points on the decoys is a good point. And that's that Israel actually used the decoy nuclear site as well when America tried to inspect its sites, during JFK's time. And JFK knew it was BS. He called it out, and he called out the lies that the Jews there were telling him. It's one of the reasons why they took him out. And so I was on a space just listening. Malcolm Nance actually stated the same thing, that even with the missile factories in terms of where they are, he readily acknowledged that it could be quite easily staged, where they take another underground site, fill it up with missiles, weapons, etc., so that the location can be given away as a decoy, and then they stage it for a day and then remove everything and put it back to where it was meant to be, because they're definitely not giving up where those sites are, but they will absolutely use decoys and do the same thing with their nuclear sites as well, just to throw off the enemy scent, and also throw off the IAEA, which I suspect that they probably knew was in on. Well, they figured out that they were in on giving away the locations of their nuclear scientists. So, it's information warfare in addition to psychological and media warfare that's at play here as well. In addition to what's happening with the respective militaries on each side. So
Well, just to
it's
even
gonna
add
be.
to that, Truth, yeah, you're so right on the mind games, because I said that earlier, when they kept announcing that, like, this fifth
Let
wave
them
or
think
fifth
they're
wave was
Nathan.
gonna
Let them
come.
think they're winning. Yeah, you got us. Let them think that.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad, because I was worried. I was just thinking, dude, I don't think these guys are ready to play these dirty little games. Like, because in order to beat
They were
someone who
trying to
plays
claim
dirty,
victory after day one.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, in order to beat someone that plays dirty, you gotta fucking, learn to play the game like them and be
Play their ego. Play their ego against them.
exactly.
Let them. Overinflate their ego and speak beyond what they've done. It's to your advantage. Well, while they operate quietly and in the dark and level 150 separate sites, and now they want to go 20 times harder. And they strike fear in the hearts of Israelis that are stuck living in bunkers. So it looks like they're doing something similar to the Daya doctrine against Israel, and their population is eventually going to rise up and say, "Hey, you can't win this war. Stop." And then I don't think that'll amount to much, but because the government doesn't care, they'll continue to operate irrespective of what their
Yeah,
citizens want,
Satan
because they answer
Yahoo
to higher
left.
powers.
Yeah, Netanyahu left. He went running away to Greece.
Hey, he's in the Greek
Real quickly,
bathhouses with his boyfriends.
Mofit and Truth, if you don't mind, or Simon, if you guys could kind of just keep it going. If anybody puts their hand up, just kind of make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. I'm gonna just dig in the background and see what updates I can find. But obviously,
Yeah, they're coming
I'll look at
in.
the
This
screen.
is the calm before the storm. It's gonna get interesting later, so be rested.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I can do both at the same time. So if you guys could just manage that for me for the time being, I really appreciate that.
Got you. I actually got a couple updates, right, guys? So there's some massive news out right now, and make sure to hit the repost before we continue. Hit that repost button by hitting that lower right button that says 8.7K. You're gonna press that button. After you press that button, you're gonna hit the repost button. It's an arrow up, arrow down. You're gonna tap on it, then it's gonna say repost. You're gonna tap that repost. Let's get to 3,000 reposts, and then hit that favorite button. Follow Suleiman as well, who's been hosting the space. It's almost day 3. Hit his profile picture. Hit the follow button. When that purple button pops up that says follow, hit that follow. This is massive breaking news right now. That
Got
just
it.
came out.
Just real quickly,
The Iranian,
I got an update too.
all right, you guys go on.
yeah, I got to update real quick. The Iranian Navy stops a British spy destroyer in the Sea of Oman, forcing it to change course. So there is some battle going on right now, guys, on the sea, Navy wise, too, going on. This is going to be interesting to another part of warfare. And then in other news, too, and this is insane because it goes to show the hypocrisy and the genocide or entity. In other news, the Israeli military cabinet meeting this evening is taking place in a new fortified IOF headquarters beneath a hospital in so-called Israel. This is stuff you couldn't make up in a billion years. This is just goes to show the hypocrisy in this genocide or entity, the projection and the insecurity of this genocide or entity,
Well,
and so it's
Tell them to
having
go have
this.
a meeting in Al Shifa
Yeah,
Hospital, man.
I want to add to that point though, to the amount to that destroyer that they forced to change direction, change course. Now, if Iran had struck that ship, UK, England is a member of NATO. The UK could have viewed that as a destruction on its property, etc., and used that as an excuse to want to invoke Article 5 in NATO. So Iran's being careful not to strike any NATO country's assets, though it could. It could have easily struck that battleship just as any F-35 in its if it's in its airspace, then it's fair game. But if it's in international waters and it strikes a UK, British, or French asset, other NATO countries, they could use that as a pretext to invoke Article 5. And Iran's mindful of that, so you see that's why they made it change course rather than take it out.
I follow some of these, military accounts from Iran, and they posted 30 minutes ago, "Dear people throughout all of the occupied Palestine, keep your cameras on." So,
It's gonna be a
Okay.
hell of a show. Better than anything Netflix can produce.
hey guys, it's
Just to
live
add
pay-per-view, and we
I
charge
was
for
gonna say, just to
pay-per-view. We
add to
charge
that,
a repost and a follow. So make sure to do those two things. That's what we charge for the pay-per-view live event tonight.
yeah, no, I
I
was
got a
just gonna say
subscription
there's
price
been some
too. You guys
cryptic.
can pay for.
Sorry, just real quickly, guys. So there's been a lot of cryptic messages coming out. There's even been some cryptic messages coming out, like on some like alternative sort of like media. I don't know what it is, websites, like, and they've been putting out some really like similar to the message that was just said about get your cameras out. Like I don't know, but the thing is, I hate when they do that. I think when they do that and they don't do anything, I think it pisses a lot of people off, especially people who don't understand, like you said, the fog of war and tactics and manipulation and you know using psychological tactics on your opponent. Sometimes people won't get that, so it can let a lot of people down. So I just really hope that as much as I don't really like to see war and I don't really want people to be killing each other, I do really hope that they respond because Israel can't keep doing this. They literally cannot keep going around the world doing whatever they want, sending their Mossad agents here, sending their Mossad agents there, and just having this cloak of secrecy to just, operate from within the shadows. And then on top of that, play this moral victim card. It pisses me off. If you're gonna be a fucking ruthless gangster, just be a fucking gangster. If you're gonna be a mobster, just be a fucking mobster. I will respect you more because I know who you are. But when you smile in my face and you talk so nice
But
and
that's
soft,
that. A lot of gangsters
and
do operate that way. The real gangsters, Nathan, the mafioso guys, are the ones in suits, the
I know that,
Benzos.
I understand that, but you know what I mean. I'm saying if you
I
guys, the
do,
guys
but
that
don't expect some scary mafioso that you see in movies to operate as a straight shooter.
no, but
These
you
people
understand what I
are
mean.
the
I
master
understand what you're
manipulators and
saying.
sociopaths. So they'll
Yeah, I get
they'll-
that. And that's what pisses me off the most is because there's the arrogant nature that they think that they're smarter than you. They think that you're just a fucking fool. Like I hate that so much. It really annoys me. I like when a person thinks that they have outsmarted me, that literally pisses me off more than the bad shit that they done to me. It may sound crazy, but the fact that you thought that you could actually do that to me would actually piss me off more. But
I do believe that they're actually going to do something when they post these, posts because they know that the world is watching now.
By the way,
So
since Simon, and it's no offense to Simon, believes that there's just a reformist in power in Iran, here's the statement he just delivered. He states, Iran has never sought war, but does not hesitate to defend itself with strength. Iran has always been prepared to reach understanding and agreement through dialogue and interaction, but unfortunately, instead of accepting our arguments, global powers accepted the lies of a regime that seeks to incite chaos in the region, that being Israel. The belief that Iran will accept irrational demands and double standards under pressure, or that it will sit at the negotiating table while the Jewish regime continues its attacks, is a mistaken belief. The Americans have always confirmed during negotiations that the Jews will not commit any aggression without their coordination and permission, and therefore it is clear that the current attacks are also taking place with coordination and green light from Washington. If Washington wants to, it can put an end to this, Jewish regime. I don't believe that because it's actually Jews in charge, so that's where I would disagree with the Iranian prime minister. So, but otherwise, it's president actually. He's not a prime minister. Anyway, that aside, and yeah, naval forces continue to monitor movements of British destroyers since its entry into the Indian Ocean. So there's invaders in the Indian Ocean besides the Diego Garcia base that's got, well, had the B-2 bombers. I think they've left, by the way. They're not there anymore. They left a few weeks back because, well, they're letting Israel run this for now.
just real quickly, I want to go to Dragon. So, Dragon, obviously, you're originally from Iran, or you originate from Iran. Have you been in contact with any of your family to get any idea of like what the damage has been like?
well, thankfully, so far, the regions that my families are existing in Tehran, they haven't been affected that badly, but there have been a lot of, damage, as we have all observed, and it is a reality, it's not an illusion. I know some people want to claim that Iran is exaggerating or that, a lot of the news coming out of Iran is just bullshit, but it's not. What they are reporting is actually reality.
So, just a quick question: the F-35 fighter jet that was reported to be shut down. Have you like been able to confirm that from any sources back in Iran?
So far, no, I have not.
And one last question, if you don't mind: what is the sentiment of the people at the moment? Are they like?
They are very united. Even those who were like divided before are completely united now. It is, they understand that this is war and that they all have to stick for each other. And it doesn't matter like the background, the beliefs, the religions, the ethnicity, or whatever. They all are united now. So what
Can I ask?
Israel did is actually, they actually shot themselves in the foot.
Can I ask? Do you think the liberal movement within Iran will be quashed now for good, or do you think it will resurface later on?
Oh, they've united behind the current government. Could that change? Look, he always asks these speculation questions. Anything's possible is the short answer to that.
What
But
I
the
mean is,
reality is right now they're 100% behind the government and its defense of the country. Like I know you love the liberal lefty mindset. Netanyahu's wet dream, just like yours, was for this the liberals to unite and try and overthrow the government. That's what Netanyahu called for,
so
just like
funny,
what you
man.
want. Well, that's
Very
just not
funny.
going to happen because they're
I wasn't
united
asking
behind
you,
the
by the
country.
way.
Because you
I
don't
wasn't asking you.
understand the culture
I
of
was
the
asking the
country.
lady.
and that they're nationalists and they're going to defend their
I
borders.
wasn't
Even the
speaking
women
to
will
you.
take up arms to defend the borders.
Who
I know,
asked
but no
you?
one, everyone sees right through the Mossad agent on stage, just calling it out.
You know me so well.
I'm here to defend the integrity of the
I wasn't
space.
asking you. Look, if you want to, look,
Well,
talk to someone.
Why don't
Hassan,
you
I
just put
can
an
respond
Israeli?
to you.
Why don't you put an Israeli flag on your
I was
profile?
asking the lady. You can
Just
you
come
can
out of
you
the
can go through my
closet, put an
feed.
Israeli flag on your profile. That way,
Okay, look,
you
everyone go
can
through
be
my
loud
feed
and
and
proud
Well,
about it.
you'll see who I
okay,
support.
Hassan, let me respond to you.
I
What
know.
the
I
truth
already.
teller
I can
you
means.
can
tell who
see
you
the
support.
lies.
You give it away.
You
Truth
should be
teller,
called lie
Ronnie, just a
teller.
moment. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what the Jews call me. There it is. There it is. Go on
Yeah,
with the name
whatever.
calling. Go on.
Sometimes it takes one to know one. Yeah.
Every
Hassan,
So
Truth
single
teller is
time.
actually correct what he says. So what he's saying is completely correct. So everyone is united now. They're all backing or
I know,
standing
but
behind the
I'm
government now.
asking, is this?
So yours and Netanyahu's
I'm not
try
speaking to you,
to
man.
get the
Why are you
liberal
interjecting?
movement to take out the regime. Failed, bud.
Who's
Try
speaking to
harder.
you?
Cope
No one's
harder.
speaking to you.
Cry harder.
Let's let him answer. Let him ask his question, and then
For God's sake, man! Every question is like a
no, no,
debate
no,
with you,
no.
man.
Listen. I don't need you guys to do that. If once I do that, once I reprimand him or put him into check or anybody else in check, I don't want people to then think it's their job to lecture after that and complain. When I open the door for you, you just walk through. That's it. Please don't close the door back when I open it so that you can argue again and bang on it and stuff. Just follow me through the door nice and calmly and make your way through. It's very simple.
Sure, I want to
Otherwise,
be able. If I can ask a
it's
question.
petty.
Yeah, I got an update. This is from an Israeli official to Axios. Trump might jump into the fight against Iran, allegedly telling Netanyahu he'd back Israel if necessary. We already knew that they're already backing them, but now they might make it official, which means Israel's fucking losing. Because why would Trump need to do that if Israel's doing so well? Why would they need the help? Q White House fiercely clarifying, no plans, no troops, not our war. Mixed messaging, but the reality is they think they might need to back Israel because they're getting their asses handed to them. So either Team Trump is quietly flexing behind closed doors, or someone in Jerusalem, maybe Hassan, is wishcrafting. That's what they wrote, wishcrafting foreign policy. Source Axios.
You know, and this is because the people who support Trump aren't pressuring him whatsoever. They're just defending him. So, yeah, of course he's going to go ahead and make it public now, even though we've all known he's been supporting them. But he's going to make it public now that they're going to use U.S. soldiers and Americans as Israel's toy slave soldier goyams. And it's going to
I
be
got one
100%.
more
public.
update.
Because when
I got one more update. Hold on, Ray. Wait 1 sec. Channel 13 Israeli News, quoting Israeli security official. They admit, and I've been saying this the whole time, we can't fully destroy Iran's nuclear infrastructure. It's clear this will end in a deal. So they know they're going to have to give up eventually. It's just a question on the question is on whose terms. I believe it'll be on Iran's terms, and Israel's going to get fucked because they're going to have to accept that Iran's a nuclear power, and by then, watch Iran have a bomb as well if they haven't used it by then. Well, then it's definitely a deal. Please stop bombing us.
Wasn't that the plan to begin with, to get the U.S. involved directly?
Yes, yes.
They achieved it.
I mean, that's the worst kept secret. Well, they haven't yet achieved it directly, but in reality, they have because the U.S. backs Israel. They're giving them everything. I mean, there's no troops on the ground necessary because there's no actual invasion. As I've stated earlier, the way modern warfare works is you need a steady supply of drones, missiles, of course, the spy satellites help as well. And, fighter jets don't hurt, and then intelligence. Intelligence is key, and that's what the U.S. provides. It's telling them where to strike, just as they did in day one, and that's why that was such an effective operation. I'm not going to deny that; it's true. But you don't need troops on the ground yet because again, it's very expensive to incur casualties, losses, and it's very hard to also maintain occupations, right? Because you're gonna guerrilla warfare is there's no real solution to guerrilla warfare, and Iran's not Iran's no exception there. But yeah, if it was to escalate to that level, I don't see that happening. Then yeah, expect the U.S. to be directly involved.
I think we know the answer to this one. I mean, when Hegseth says Iranians know they can return to negotiations, I mean it's just a scam to resupply Israel while Iran is busy with that, right? That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. That's why Iran has to be very careful with the negotiations and all the deal stuff because we saw what happens after you negotiate and you try to make a deal with the genociders. There are no deals with genociders. Genociders will go behind your back. They will still go ahead and bomb women and children. They'll still go ahead and bomb your infrastructure. They'll still go ahead and bomb your economy away, little by little, and fast as hell, even with the support of America. Thanks to the U.S. government that's completely installed by AIPAC and purchased by Israel and the genociders who run that system. So that's what we're seeing here, and that's why we're about to see even more support going towards this, and the support's coming from the
Well, I
American.
got one more announcement here. This is Israeli media Yedioth Ahronot. Take it for what it's worth. The Ayatollah has lifted all restrictions on strikes against Israeli civilian targets, declaring there are no civilians in Israel. Sound familiar? More victimhood or reality we'll see in this evening's exchange. So when they say you're going to see red, it's going to be 20 times as hard. First of all, those civilians, all the adults are either, again, IDF reservists, Shin Bet, Mossad, or different types of operatives working within that genocidal regime. So they're all fair game anyway. The only ones that aren't are the kids below 18. But even them, like they take them out of high school to put them in Unit 8200 anyway. So
Question.
remember the Israelis saying, the Jews saying Nathan, I think they should just use Jewish law in dealing with the Jews, just like the prophet, right? When he had to deal with that treasonous tribe, Banu Goresh, what did they do? They used Jewish law to execute all the men that had sided with the enemy. So, yeah, all's fair in war and love in war, right? Well,
Although
Israel
true, I'm
bit off more than they could
Iran.
chew.
I don't do religion, so I'm staying out of that one. I got a question for you,
Well,
just real quickly. In your opinion, do you believe that Israel really expected Iran to respond and like strike back the way they're doing, or do you believe that they thought they were gonna just like hit them hard on the first run and then they would give up?
I think they absolutely ran war simulation exercises. They'd been planning on this for many months. Well, they've been wet dreaming about it for many years. And they had absolutely anticipated a reaction. They knew it wasn't going to be a cakewalk. But again, the Israeli strategy is always to get ahead of the media and proclaim victory. It's like the presumptive sale, essentially selling the fact they're going to win. But I think there's been a reality check because once again, the other thing they may or may not have anticipated is information asymmetry. I think they were well aware they could never strike the nuclear sites. They've already admitted that in public now. But in private, they knew it too because Iran gave away. If I know, they know that the sites are inaccessible. And also with the fact that they're decentralized with respect to both their missile and drone manufacturing abilities, both in Iran and outside Iran with their allies, and that there is no real way to counter that with just strikes with a limited strike. So they're going to do their best to try to weaken the government, but their main hope was that they would do these strikes and the liberal movement within Iran would try to do a regime change. They were hoping for 1979 or 1953 was just the assassination of the prime minister, Dr. Mossadegh, but that failed. And that was they admitted this themselves in various interviews that they would be careful not to strike civilians because automatically that would unite the whole country and the diaspora as well, except for maybe some monarchists that just hate the regime that much and they don't have a problem seeing their people die. But most Iranians that are nationalists
Most of
absolutely
the
would care. Even the ones, yeah, most of them, like 90%, except for the ones doing a space right now with the Jews. I mean, they're bloodthirsty.
no, most of those monarchies are actually mass Jews, and let me just point it
Yeah,
out.
okay, so
And
they're the
when you see a
Jews.
lot of these monarchist accounts, they're actually Jews. They're not. Yes.
Well, there you have it. And Iran Jews have been in Iran for like 3,000 years. Most of them have left Iran. There's like less than 10,000. The ones there, I wouldn't trust them anyway. That's just me. I don't trust any Jews, especially in power. But yeah, that aside, back to your question, Nathan, I believe there's just no way they could anticipate what Iran could bring to the table because at best they could just see what a piece of what Iran had based on what they've seen with Hezbollah and what they've seen with Ansarullah and the allies because a lot of them use Iranian made weapons and they also make they mimic what they have as well, and also in Russia, Ukraine. Remember, they're constantly data collecting. They're not just using Palantir to collect data on our personal information. They're doing it on the battlefield as well, as they did during the Iraq conflict in Afghanistan. Palantir was there doing it, by the way, before they went public. So, and Blackwater too, as a military contractor, they have a ton of data they use to be able to carry out these war simulation exercises and then analyze the data they've collected. So, I don't. I think that's their biggest fear is the unknown. And that's part of the reason why. Like, I mean, I read this. Who knows? Take it for what it's worth. They could go and try to assassinate, Khamenei today. how would that, what kind of power vacuum would that leave? What would be the reaction? Would they then fully unite, like say they tried to do, in '79, and then declare war on all of the U.S. allies, and then turn it into a world war? That's a consideration. Or two, would that then turn them into a stooge state? And they just don't know the answers to these questions, and that's too big a risk to take at this time. But I anticipate that they will try to assassinate Khamenei at some point too, because they do want to do the regime change. They're never going to state this as far as part of the declaration of war. They're going to lie in the hopes that the people will do the regime change for them. And with the Mossad agents that are there doing the sectarian conflict, though that doesn't really apply in Iran because the majority are Shiite. But they've definitely got their agents there trying to stray people and turn against the regime. So this way they can take over the country, install the stooge, just like in a Gulf state, and steal the assets. That's their goal. They're never going to admit that stated goal. Maybe you'll find it in a WikiLeaks cable.
We got some more breaking news too, guys. Also coming out of Israel. Israel shuts down nationwide starting tonight. Israel is hitting pause. Schools are closed. Their genocider workplaces are closed. The genocider government says it's temporary just from the evening to tomorrow night, but it's across the whole genocidal colonial entity, and that it's a national security move. So this is just in from the genocider
And
entity.
this is the best time to boycott Israel. They're on their knees. Remember what they did to Syria when Syria was on their knees, you know? So they went in and destroyed Syria's entire military when Syria was going through a civil war, when Syria was on its knees, bombing their airports, bombing food depots. So this is the best time to boycott Israel. I mean, honestly, if this was happening during the school year with all the universities and all the colleges opening and what have you, with student movements, whatever, I mean, it would be a lot. This is why they did it in the summer. So there you go.
Okay,
Question for
there's one
Simon:
more news. Okay, sorry.
what kind of economic damage do you think this will do to Israel?
Massive. They're going to have to depend on the Western imperial colonial governments that have been purchased off by them in a massive fashion now, which is gonna hurt America a little bit because unfortunately the politicians are gonna back time.
Yeah, can I just add to that more?
Really quick though. Let me. So they're going to basically use against America. Um, yeah, sorry. And then so basically they're going to use that against America. And then what it's gonna do is it's gonna damage Israel though the most. It's gonna destroy them the most because now their whole real estate, their whole settlements, and that's the thing. Like if I were Iran, I would be also targeting those settlements, those internationally illegal settlements, because those settlements is also big money over there. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars over there. That's another way that you could handle their economy if they plan to further attack Iran, which it looks like they're going to try to do. So that's just one method and game plan that I would have in my cards. But what we're gonna see is we're gonna see Israel hurt in a massive way. Who would really want to immigrate there now? Netanyahu. Ron, if you could mute the mic, you got a massive background noise. But who would want to basically go now to Israel? Who would want to tour over there when you got massive missiles flying above your head? And it's all because of Netanyahu and their genocider entity government wanting to continue a genocidal holocaust, wanting to continue to steal from Americans, wanting to continue to rig the system against everyday people worldwide. And it's all because of that. It's all because Israel wanted to go ahead and do that. And so who would want to go there now with these massive, freaking huge missiles flying above your head? And then we saw the Iran hits yesterday. We saw the results of Iran's defense and their retaliation after Israel bombed them and killed 300 plus women and children over there. The scientists, some military leaders over there too, were stricken. So we saw Iran's response to that, and it was a massive, massive response as well. And so I think it shows that a lot of these I think what really the biggest damage of this all, right, is that they've stolen trillions of dollars by the multi trillions of dollars. A lot of what we see on the debt clock is what they've stolen in trillions of dollars to fund things like the Iron Dome and to fund things like the other systems that America has going to defending this genocidal entity because of the government of America being controlled by this genocidal entity. So all these things that we're seeing being used by Israel has been funded by the trillions of dollars from our tax dollars, and it's still failing in a miserable fashion. And so we're going to see it getting decimated. It's already been decimated, but we're going to see it further being decimated. The only reason why it's still kind of pumped on paper, we're still seeing the bonds kind of still there, even though the bond should be completely decimated by now. It's even they should be considered junk bonds, but we're seeing it, just because of the simulation of the markets that Truth Teller and Simon speak about, which is once again it's causing all of this inflation that we're seeing here. That's why the things like these genocidal warfares, like in Ukraine and Palestine and Israel, but mainly Israel's the cause of this, right? Because at the end of the day, this is for the Israel, greater Israel map, right? At the end of the day. So all of these trillions of dollars have been extracted for on behalf of Israel, and it's failing. All these systems are failing too. And Iran's getting right past this. So this is why the Moody's, someone's talking about the Moody's downgrade earlier. This is
Real
why
quick,
the
I got just a quick breaking news update coming from Israel. So the Israeli education minister, during the coming week, the entire educational system. No, sorry, did I say that? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the entire educational system will transition to remote learning without public attendance.
And Nathan, did you see this
And
one though?
I got one more news for you, Nathan.
Just one sec. Hold on, man.
So
Hold on. The Iranian security forces are conducting extensive sweeping and surveillance operations in Tehran to pursue any suspects involved in working for Israeli Mossad. Should have done this earlier.
Yeah,
It
I
should
don't
have
know
been
if
done
you
months ago.
missed it, but they got 16 earlier. Tasman was reporting they picked up 16 people.
Yeah, I believe they do it all the time because they execute these Mossad agents all the time, and it gets reported as Iran executing, the reformists or those that are
Do
protesting
you
for
think
more
they should make it more
liberalism.
public? Like these guys, so that people can stop, being able to push this propaganda and saying, "Oh, they just hang people all the time for nothing. They just hang people for doing this." Like, do you think they
Oh,
should
they're
be more
traitors.
open about,
Bro,
the traders that they have?
they should have these people's heads on pikes
One
behind
sec,
us.
Ray. One sec, Ray. I'm talking to truth. Please don't do that. Don't just budge in. Just
You
keep it.
stop with the Fed jacket talk, all right?
Yeah.
You can't advocate for
Guys,
stuff
can you
like that.
please not
Public
post in the net?
execution is one thing because that's sanctioned.
Yeah, truth. Did you get
I
what I
got
said? Sorry, double mute.
I got breaking news, real quick, guys, coming out of Israel. They are saying we are striking Iran at this hour, and this came out a few minutes ago on Suleiman's page. Make sure you guys are following Suleiman too, guys. This is massive news right now. They're saying within the hour they plan to strike. Israel is saying it plans to strike Iran within the hour. So tune in, guys. Repost the space. It looks like
The air
within the
defense is
hour
already up in
things are about to go
Tehran,
off.
Tabriz, Sharud, Bandar Abbas, Esfahan, and Khorramabad. Khorramabad. Sorry for the bad pronunciation, but yeah, it's 6 different cities. The attacks have already started.
All right. I'm just going to do a quick reset in the room. So, good day, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending your day with us, keeping up to date with what's going on in Iran, between Iran and Israel. Uh, as expected, we're all waiting and anticipating another long night of back and forth waves between the two heavyweights. And
Madad news agency published a video now about these missile carriers not positioning themselves and preparing for
you could have
launching
waited
them.
for me to finish my plug, just cut me off.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. I just like I said, thank you for coming, everyone. If you enjoying the space, please share the space. Follow any of the speakers on stage that you resonate with. Follow the host, the co-host, if you want. Doesn't matter. But yeah, if you got an opinion or you know anyone that is in Iran, or even if you know someone that's in Israel, we don't hate in here. If you want to come up and share your opinion, if you're an Israeli, if you're Iranian, we'll love to hear from you. Please come up and join us. Don't worry, this is a free speech platform with reason, with respect, and we don't mind a bit of a debate. So if you're not chicken and you're not dishonest, come up and join us.
Justin, Yemeni forces call on all Muslim nations to back Iran in its war against the genocide or entity named Israel.
Yeah, because to be honest, just real quickly, sorry, Simon, I'll just be really quickly. I just always felt this was always my opinion when it came to this, this predicament between Iran and Israel, or if it was Iran and the U.S. I always felt like they held the cards because when you're faced with a bully, right, it's up to you. Obviously, you can just deal with it and take the little minor treatment and just kind of go about your way. But when you do decide to stand up, it just all depends on what the bully has. Is he for real or not? And I knew once Iran decided that they was not going to take it anymore, it was going to be up to the U.S. or Israel to decide if they want to have a fallout war. Because I think Iran actually is ready. I don't think they wanted it, but I think they felt like they had no choice. Obviously, once Israel decided to strike on their own territory, so vigorously taking out their high command, like it's no choice. It was literally bought. I don't even know why we have so much crazy people in like politics, in the news media that just push these crazy spin narratives because it's so obvious that Israel is the aggressor, and Iran has the right to defend themselves and they should defend themselves. So, um, I think it's gonna be up to Israel and the U.S. now because I don't think Iran's gonna back down no matter what. I don't think no matter how hard you hit them, I think they're in it for the long game now, no matter what.
Yep, they're not like Satan Yahoo, who he just left and went to Greece. By the way, guys, Israel Channel 13 just came out with breaking news as well, and they're crying. They're saying Netanyahu left us and went to Greece as well. And see, this is why this is massive. I mean, this is massive news right here too, guys. This guy Satan Yahoo is now being exposed by his own country, running away right now while they're under fire, they're under the fire that he caused. I think that's the crazier part. Is it's not like someone else caused it. Like this is all happening because of his genocide herself.
Yo,
And he's
brother, you know what somebody needs to do? Someone needs to make a parody video of like how he makes the videos where he's talking to the Yemeni people, or he's talking to the Lebanese people, he's talking to the Iranian people. Like someone needs to make a parody video and do the same to him with the talking to the Israeli people. So yeah, we want regime change now. We want regime change now. We need to make, and we know what else we need? One of you tech guys need to make us an AI video in Tel Aviv, right? With, I don't know, mosques all over the place, something, I don't know. I mean, we need something, bro. We need to be pushing back on these guys, bro. We need to make them angry. Well, maybe that's probably not the best thing to do, but yeah, we need to push back on them a bit. Sorry, whoever, Simon, I think you was going to jump in, Simon, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say again, like out of the box thinking. If I wanted to, engineer a normalization process, then I would have a game that strategically weakens Israel, and I would engage in such a thing that leads to crashing in the price of real estate, making the country uninvestable, making their country junk bonds, creating an environment that is completely.
Let me play this game with you real quick because I've listened to you. I've kind of for a while now. I've not really been on the panel with you too much to really share my thoughts. So I'll play this game with you. So do you feel like um, Iran is going to be allowed to basically take on Israel and let Israel stand on their own 2 feet and actually see what they're about? And if they come out strong on the other side, then that's okay. But the goal is to hopefully see them weaken on the other side. So that would mean, sorry, just because I'm a bit scrambled with this thought, that would mean that whoever is controlling this game sees Iran as a strong power, and they believe that Iran is strong enough to do the damage, I guess, to, I don't know, get the mad dog on a leash, bring, weaken the mad dog, because that's what Israel is. Israel's like a mad dog that can't be controlled by its owner. So is that kind of what your theory is? I know that was a bit scrambled, but if you understood what I was saying there, is that what you are pushing there?
Yeah, no, yeah. So the way that the geopolitics are lining up right now is that Iran is important, incredibly important, and holds some of the major cards. But Iran wants to be engaged in sanctions removal and to realize all of its potential.
No, they don't, man.
Okay, well,
It's your
let
feeling.
me go through
They've
my
gone
thought.
with sanctions for 46 years. They figured
Okay,
it out. They don't care about
I
sanctions.
understand
They
it.
care about their autonomy more. You keep thinking
True.
they care about sanctions relief and wanting a normalized relationship
True. Just
with
give him
the imperial community.
Please,
What that means.
for the listeners, one sec, guys. Look, true for the listeners, just allow him to get his thought out, and then obviously you can respond. It's better that way for the listeners when you guys have that back and forth dialogue. But when you like,
I get it, Simon, but you're just hearing the Jewish narrative right now. This is what they want. They want to be a part of the Western community and normalized. No, they don't.
Okay, right. So you have a choice, just like Israel has a choice and Iran has a choice, of you can be a pariah state and you have figured out the optimum strategy of working with BRICS and achieving the best economics that you can. And they've done an amazing job of that, and they are fully insulated and they can carry on as they want. But there is a Western colonizer and there is a military controlled state called Israel. And that military state called Israel is making your life hell, and you're making their life hell. And the only people that are profiting from this is that you're siphoning off all of the money into Western pockets in the military industrial complex companies, and you're propping up the US stock market. So you realize that that's the game that's being played. You make as much money from that as you possibly can in order to look after your people and make sure that your people are satisfied, while at the same time, you're always being threatened with colored revolutions and propaganda and sanctions and everything that the West can throw at you in order to make your life as hard as possible in being the best you can be for your people. That's the current environment. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job of that. I'm saying that's the game that they are currently playing. Now, what if there was a much greater vision for the region and you have a choice? You either participate in that because you want to, not because you're absolutely forced to, but you believe that that's a better outcome for all parties, just pure game theory in that. And there was a way of playing a military game where both of you get to say that you won. I believe the outcome of this is that both people get to say to their relative people, "We showed Israel that that we could destroy them if we wanted to," and Israel gets to say, "Look, we managed to take out their nuclear program and prevent them being a nuke because they were about to blow us up and kill all the Jews." That's the narrative that both of them are going to say. There's going to be no changing from that. And so you enter into that game. Iran already knows how to play within that game, but Israel doesn't, because Israel is a welfare state. They require subsidies in order to survive. And now they require subsidies more than ever. And now they are going to entering into a distress status. If you were a venture capitalist and sovereign wealth fund that wanted to buy your neighbor, then the GCC could buy their neighbor if that was what was being negotiated and what the deal was. And then maybe the US military say, okay, we're not going to create these covert wars anymore. We're not going to engage in that. Instead, you give us some deal. We're going to put a bunch of data centers. We're going to allow you to build up your artificial intelligence, utilize your energy. We've got to pretend that we're doing something completely different publicly. But is there a way that the GCC could end up governing themselves and we could stop playing these games. And I personally believe that in behind the scenes, those have been negotiated. And in order to execute that vision, you need to be able to show that Iran has the strength that it actually has. And Israel gets this point a narrative back to their people. And then the military can then decide, right, let's actually stop this forever war neocon model and let's switch to an alternative model. That's what I'm saying. And if GCC wants
All
to
right.
buy Israel in distress, then do everything you're doing right now and economically destroy it, make it where there can be regime change, and then you get to both, and then both parties get to have the type of government that believes that that's the way forward.
Just real
All right.
quickly
So the
from
reality
Vancouver.
here,
Sorry, just real quickly, we got a lot of action going on over the city of Isfahan. Also, there's massive explosion rocks southern Tehran. Also, we got Iran has shot down, I think, 2 Israeli drones so far. Also, 1 minute. Sorry, I've got another one for you. The air defense is really active right now over Tehran. You can see there's videos coming out of them making interceptions at the moment. So it seems like things are starting to pick up again. As more breaking news comes in, guys, I'm just going to warn you, I'm going to be jumping in just so you know, so don't be offended. I think it was Truth. You wanted to jump in?
I want really
I
quick
do.
address that. Go ahead.
All right. I mean, what Simon just described is a bunch of hopeful, wishy-washy, wishful thinking cope that, you know, they can address their respective populations to claim they have wins. What Israel's going to see is a devastated country. It's already been struck hard, and if you want to believe what the Iranian army says, it's going to get struck 20 times harder, and there's going to be thousands of casualties. That's what they're going to see. There's no win in that. That's called devastation, destruction, and they'll start hating on their government maybe, and nothing will change. They're going to be brought to their fucking knees. Okay, that's the goal. And your Judaism that you defend all the time, that's going to get crushed because nobody wants a piece of that. You can try to claim that Zionism has been hijacked by, or Judaism has been hijacked by Zionism. That's a bunch of cope. Zionism is a manifestation of Judaism, and the point is to expand the ideology and have it and imprint its foothold within the Middle East, across Europe, in Africa, and also in South America, etc. It's a global Jewry problem. That's the issue here. Iran's fighting against that just as Russia's been trying to do as well, despite the mixed messaging. They tried the same formula in Russia 3 years ago. Let's weaken their economy with what 21,000 plus sanctions now, and then let's start a proxy war against them to destroy their army. They're weak. Well, they underestimated. Russia's winning that war 3 years later, and there've been millions of casualties. They love their perpetual wars. They think it'll go a few weeks. I'm anticipating it might even go longer than that until Israel is brought to its fucking knees permanently. Okay, I think that's the objective here because it's gone to a point of no return. So for you to think that this is just going to be some media warfare and they want to bring positive messaging back so they can claim victories, no, this will be a winner takes all, I believe. I don't think there's room for compromise. That's what the expectation is. We'll see what happens. I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe it'll end. I don't think it'll end tomorrow or the day after. I think it'll go several weeks at least. But the expectation is it's not going to end that way because Iran's been preparing for this moment for 46 plus years. And we fail to realize Iran's not some new kid on the block. They've been around for 6,000 years. They've seen empires come and go. Israel's been around since 1948. Iran's been around much longer than the Jews have. The Jews don't know how to win. They know how to get kicked out of countries and get their asses handed to them. They're no exception. There's nothing special about them. And they're about to find out. They fucked around with the wrong bully. And Iran's not even a bully. They're not invading other countries. Now they're about to find out. The Jews are going to be exposed for the real cowards that they are, and people like you want to defend them and shield them from criticism and pretend like you can create this world of utopia where Israel and the Jews can cohabit with others peacefully is fucking bullshit. And you expose yourself every time when you try. And it's pathetic. Get
I've got
over
a
the fact
question.
the Jews are the problem, the Jews are the enemy, they're the cause of all the wars, they have been for centuries, and everyone's finding out now, and there's just no tricks and traits about it. There's no wishful utopia that's feasible so long as the Jews are in power. Thank you.
Right,
Okay,
guys,
so
I'm back.
I've got to push back against that. But if you want to,
Oh yeah, go ahead. I didn't hear anything, so I'll
yeah.
let you
Well,
push back.
firstly, I don't practice Judaism. I practice Islam. Secondly, I've been on this app with Suleiman for 650 days. There is nothing that I would want more than for a one-state solution with equal rights called Palestine, and to return what it actually was before this the Zionism actually came through. And if you get what you want, then I'll be happy. I'll sit here. I'll say that I was wrong. And if Palestine gets a one-state solution and Israel is no more, then that's the optimum solution. I actually believe that the economic reality of today, because of everything in the geopolitics, is that that might be achieved a slightly different way. And so I just outlined how I think the same result will happen. And I personally believe that there is a power structure that certainly has a lot of Jewish people at the top, but there's just as many non-Jewish people at the top.
There's a
And
hierarchy,
therefore
though.
you have
The Jews on top,
have
then
to
it's the
deal you
Shabbos
have to
square
deal
on
with
the
it.
bottom
And I
below them.
believe power changes. I don't believe in a disempowering belief that what you think what you call Jewish power sits at the top forever and it can never be dethroned, it can never change, and that actually power dynamics change all the time. And if you want to have a disempowering belief that the Jews are always going to rule the world and there ain't shit you can do about it because they're too powerful, then I think that that's not a reflection of reality. And I think that it's more a reflection of reality to believe that power dynamics change and actually the world does look different because every fiat currency implodes upon itself and power changes. And I believe that we're seeing fiat currency implode
Who
upon
causes
itself.
those fiat currencies to plummet? The Jews
We
on
know,
top.
we know truth. You're
That's
not gonna
why
you're
we
not gonna
know
disagree
exactly.
with me. We're not gonna
But I
disagree
agree
because
with
we
part of
run
what you're
space
saying,
after
Simon. That's
space
that
talking
one. I've
about
never said the
financial
Jews have
corruption.
ruled. I've never said the Jews have ruled the whole time. They've failed to rule the whole time. That's why they've been kicked out of 109 countries 1,034 times because they kept trying and failing. They have this temporary rule for now, but it's
All right,
starting to
guys,
get checked because I believe.
this is just like I just need to give the breaking news. I just came back. I actually didn't hear any of the conversation except for what just Simon just said. Now I can figure out what the conversation was about, which is like the same thing for the billionth time. Let me just quickly give you some breaking news. Tweets in the nest. Major breaking news: Israeli drones intercepted over Tehran. So Israeli drones are being intercepted over Tehran. There's actually a lot of news because I sent it through the news. I was posting it even though I didn't have time for 1 second. I'm just quickly do this. Other one is families of Israeli government ministers have been evacuated to secret locations. This is a counter Israeli Channel 13 news, so there's not like some kind of propaganda or whatever. This is actually happening. Israeli strikes in Iran. This was earlier near the IRGC base. Israeli state TV says heavy and destructive attacks by Iran against Israel are expected within hours. So we're going to be covering that, obviously. That's going to happen within hours. Israeli Channel 13 said Netanyahu left and went to Greece.
Did he cut out?
Yeah, this is crazy. Guys, make sure you hit that repost button.
Real quickly, so I've got an update as well.
Go for it, bro. I've got a few more, but just go for it.
Trump has apparently informed Netanyahu that he will take action against Iran's Fordo nuclear facility if necessary. And this is Israeli Channel 12.
So it's acknowledgement they couldn't get it done.
Also, there's
Trump's
reports
too
of
stupid to figure out that he doesn't have the weapon. He doesn't have anything different than what Israel's already used.
And so, sorry, yeah. Did you finish truth?
Yeah,
Your
you can
point,
go
sorry.
on. You go on.
Anyway, let me read the rest of it. So the Iranian president also said this quote: "The American will have always emphasized during the negotiations that the Zionist regime will not commit any." This is another example of Trump and the Trump administration going back against their word. This is like the third time, and what it demonstrates is you just can't trust them anymore. And okay, you get away with it for the first few times, but you're still in the administration for another 3 years. But anyway, because the Americans have always emphasized during the negotiations that the Zionist regime will not commit any aggression without their coordination and permission. And therefore, it is clear that the current attacks are also being carried out with the coordination and green light of America. And if they want, they can put this regime in its place.
So that means that I was right then. They're complicit, as I stated, just by their actions. They're trying to, they're basically using the mad dog. That's literally what they're doing. You're using Israel as a mad dog.
Israel
It's
is
the Jews in
America.
charge that are using Israel. They're with it from America.
I
Just to
understand
be
what you
clear
mean,
about
but
that. Because
but you would agree
because
that
Mo put up
Israel,
a poll earlier from
one sec, but you would
but
agree
Nathan.
that Israel is the mad dog, right? Whether you want to take the mad dog
First
or
of all,
let
you
it
keep
go.
saying mad dog. They
Oh, I
take
think
they're
America's.
working
I think
together.
America's the mad dog. But anyway, let me just read the rest of it.
Why not?
We
Why not
are
both?
striking. Well,
Because Israel doesn't
because
have the power.
because
America does.
one needs to have control, isn't it? So when you give when you make a statement that someone's a mad dog, you're kind of saying that that person doesn't have power. Because a dog just like loses his mind without any control or direction. Whereas I think there is America's the mad dog who's on a leash, and Israel's holding that leash. This is my view.
Yeah, I'll go back to saying America is run by Jews in charge that enable Israel. So we can agree on that.
If I can speak in
1
here.
second. Let me just 1 second. Let me just give all this updates, Andrew, and I'll go straight to you. Yeah. We the IDF mentioned about 39 minutes ago that they were striking Iran within an hour. People in Iran are doing an historic 10-kilometer procession in honor of of Eid al-Ghadir, because it is Eid there. Obviously, Zionists are bombing them at that time. Iran's intelligence service have arrested 16 Mossad affiliated collaborators and spies across Iran. Iranian air defenses active over Strait of Hormuz hub. The Iranian Navy stops a British. Oh yeah, this happened earlier. The Iranian Navy stopped a British spy destroyer in the Sea of Oman, forcing it to change direction. So you got a British spy destroyer that was there. Channel 13 said that the military cabinet meeting this evening will take place in the new fortified IDF headquarters beneath. Bro, I didn't even read this properly before. Gee, right, you're gonna laugh at this, guys. The military cabinet meeting this evening will take place in the new fortified IDF headquarters. Where is it? Beneath Ichilov Hospital. So they've got the IDF base under a hospital. They're using
You
the
can't
hospital.
make this up.
It's wow.
They're using the hospital as a human shield.
You know, the thing is, I actually knew this though. I just knew that they had a command center underneath a hospital. I fucking knew it.
Which is protected from Iranian missiles after the defense ministry was hit last night and is now feeling unsafe. This is like Iyal Yakubi saying, "I don't feel safe." He you know that troll tweet I did about the building. He was like, he made some comment. I don't know, and I just wrote, "I don't feel safe underneath it."
You know,
That's the
you
best way
need
to
to make
trust.
a tweet on that, like, and it has to be big. Like, you have to like really put that out there, like, and then like put some infographics where they like blame Hamas for human shields and shit, and then you just show like Israel human shields, like headquarters underneath hospital. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
And
can someone ask ChatGPT to create an image of Israel using human shields with an IDF base underneath and put it in the comments?
that's the
Golden
thing.
idea.
That's what they're doing. I mean, wasn't there news that now the
Whoa! It's not even done yet. Let me read the rest of it. It gets even worse. More sauce. Ichilov Hospital is a camouflaged military base with an underground military facilities and tunnels at the IDF headquarters within a 400-meter radius of the hospital. This is from Israeli Channel 13. Also, we have Keir Starmer say the UK is moving jets to Middle East to support regional security, which means obviously they're helping Zios. Iran to Israel tonight will be red. Okay, so this was the one I wanted to talk to. Iran says to Israel, tonight will be red for you. You will never forget it. So a massive starch warning from Iran to Israel. Something huge is coming in the next few hours. My boy Hassan be like, nah, bruv. 100 missiles just not enough. Like all these bases getting smashed up is just not enough. Jokes, jokes. The Turkish director of communication said a security meeting chaired by Erdogan was held at the presidential complex. The meeting addressed the conflict sparked by Israel's attack on Iran, examining the situation in detail. Discussions focused on Israel's escalating aggression, diplomatic efforts to end the fighting, the impact on regional and global security, and Turkey's preparedness for potential development. That's fine. Iran, as a foreign minister, informed his counterpart that Tehran would be ready to resume negotiations after responding to Israel. Okay, that's a bit lame. In a 50-minute call, Putin told Trump he condemns Israel's military operation against Iran and warned it could spiral into something which is extremely unpredictable consequences. And that is the recap of the. Oh, there's one more news. Just posted. Let me just get this. Here we go. Houthis call on all Muslim nations to back Iran in its war with Israel. So the Houthis, I'm just going to put that in the nest. This is breaking news.
Check this one. I've got one for you here. So Israeli Broadcasting Authority is quoting Israel as requesting help from the U.S. So they're literally in the back, they're literally in the front foreground. They're like huffing and puffing all loud, and in the background they're like crying, saying, "Please come and help us, Daddy. Please come help us."
For real, for real. So we're
Not only
expecting.
that, but they're also running away. Their politicians and their ministers are also running away, including Netanyahu Milikowski, aka Netanyahu, has ran away to Greece. On top of it.
For real, for real. Okay, guys. I'm gonna bring Andrew in, a new voice. Andrew, what's your thoughts on? I've not heard from you before, so just give us your thoughts on what's happening in terms of.
Yes, thank you. Been listening in. Outstanding coverage, superb coverage. I'm retired military, U.S. Navy, submarine warfare, American. Let me tell you, the mindset of officers, military, United States military officers, is a deep-seated brainwashing from childhood of the Zionist, going all the way back to the Schofield Bible of the 100 years of worshiping national Israel. Now, Wesley Clark, remember, 7 countries in 5 years. Why has Iran, why are they still standing? I'll leave it at that.
Is that a real question? You've been standing for 6,000 plus
It's
years.
a rhetorical question. But let me go in. When I was before I went submarine warfare, I was in support of the multiple peacekeeping force in Beirut, Lebanon. Now, we lost several hundred Marines. Now, I saw firsthand. I was a boat officer, and it used to piss me off because I was raised as an evangelical Christian. Oh, Israel, God's chosen people. And I'm like, what the hell? When we got ROE, rules of engagement briefs, before we went out at night, and we had SEAL team backup support. When we went out at night, we were told, well, except for the Israelis, we don't know. Remember the USS Liberty. They play by their own rules. They're in their complete thing. They're like a sacred freaking cow. Israel is the antithesis of God-based, I'm talking the Bible. And I mean that because they're usurpers in Matthew chapter 21. I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, it's time, especially older Americans they're starting to wake up, because the younger generation, they've realized that they've been duped and brainwashed, and how Israel truly controls our entire government. It is broken. So I'll just get off here.
Awesome. And guys, if you're in listeners, we have again almost 5,000 people on the space. Appreciate everyone being on here. Do me a favor, go to my profile, hit the follow, and hit this what's it called again? The notifications. And the reason for that is because if we need to restart the space, you will immediately be notified. As you know, Musk took away my blue check mark because he was controlled by this. He is controlled by this IO. So do that for me. That would be awesome. Furthermore, guys, what's happening? Furthermore, guys, what was I gonna say? Yeah, just do that for me. Retweet, reshare the space as well as always. That would be fire. Let's see what else we have got. Let's go to Jaffer. Why is it? Let's bring some more people up on the panel. But go ahead, Jaffer. Let's go to this guy, new speaker. Let's be honest. Go ahead. And guys, I'm gonna bring people up, but like I said, I always give first priority to
I
people.
wanted to address.
The only people I bring up is if they're following me. But go ahead, whoever's speaking.
Yeah, definitely. If you're raising your hand and requesting, you have to follow Suleiman first and repost the space before coming on the stage. But also I wanted to say, like, I see exactly kind of where Simon's coming from, but more so where Truth Teller's coming from. Like Simon, I think the thing is like you would be right, but up until Israel striked Iran, I think now it's like totally changed everything. I think now Iran, like what Truth Teller was saying, Iran has to bring Israel to its knees in order to successfully recover after what Israel did to its main city, because the same thing that you said uh like kind of is like related to Israel regarding its debt and its investments going down because it's been attacked. Same thing for Iran. So like this is all out right here. It has to be all out because whoever comes on top, it could recover. It could end up making up from what happened there, and it could end up recovering everything that you stated was going on with Israel. Same thing with Iran. It could help it basically. It could recover all of those things that are currently skydiving for both because of the situation going on in each of their country, well, in Iran's country and where Israel's occupying.
Yeah, the difference is that Iran is sovereign and a partner of BRICS, and BRICS doesn't give a shit about what happens in the Western capital markets. They don't have a debt-based central bank. They don't have the same. They're not subject to the same forces that allow for colonization in your country. So that's the difference between Iran and Israel. Whereas Israel, you can use financial markets and hedge funds, and if the GCC wanted to use their sovereign wealth in order to use Western tactics, you could destroy that economy. You could own that economy, and you could end up with all the assets through an operation like this. So that's like the difference in the two different models. And one thing I will say, I've got no affiliation to being right. What I want is a one-state solution with equal rights for Palestinians. And if it turns out that Iran's going to get us there, and I need to be wrong, then I'd rather be wrong. I'm just reporting not what I want to happen, but what I believe is happening. And I couldn't give two shits if I'm wrong or right, as long as we end up with equal rights for all in a Palestinian state. And if Iran can deliver that in the way that they think is right, and the way that I'm saying is not how it happens, then I'd be much happier and I couldn't give a shit about being right.
Let's go to let's bring in a few more new speakers. Let's be honest, if you're not there, I'm just gonna drop you. Okay, I think people just request to get excited to come up. Let's go to Matt. Matt, jump in.
Matt, can you hear the host?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How's
Solomon,
it going, guys?
one sec. Speak, Solomon, so see if he can hear you.
Matt,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Yeah, go for it. What's your thoughts?
Thank you very much for having me on. No, I just Simon, you've been talking a lot about kind of the root of the problem or the focusing on the problem around, financing, central banks, um, money printing, all of that stuff. Do you know much about, like, do you kind of have a solution for it? I'm very pro Bitcoin, and I believe Bitcoin is the
Yeah,
only solution
look
out
at
of
my
this problem.
profile, but I don't think this is a Bitcoin space. I think there's like some breaking news, but yeah, I've been involved in Bitcoin from the beginning, and I've been advocating it for 14 years.
Okay, nice. Well,
Oh
I
my
think
God, you're in Bitcoin. You don't know who Simon Dixon is?
Yeah,
no,
what the hell? You're meant to be a Bitcoiner. Come on, man.
no,
I
I'm
don't
Simon
sorry,
is
man. I
understand,
don't.
bro.
Simon is Satoshi Nakamoto.
You're a noob, right? When did you join Bitcoin?
I'm not a noob. I'm not a noob. I
When did you
actually,
join?
well, like 2.5, 3 years ago, so probably
There you go. That's a noob. That's
relatively
a
new.
noob in Bitcoin world.
Yeah,
You're
if
in
you
this.
don't know
You're
who,
in
if
this.
you're in Bitcoin, if you're in Bitcoin, you don't know who Simon Dixon is. That's like a Zionist not knowing
Yeah,
that there's two
level.
quarters on the floor.
That's a level of adoption that shows that how big our industry has become. That you don't know who I am and you're in Bitcoin. So that's good. It
But
just means how
but
big
to
we've
the,
become.
well, I apologize for not knowing who you are. But to that point,
Do you accept his apology, Simon?
No, yeah, no need to apology, but go back to the roots. Look who
Simon
helped
is
you
the
get here in
AI.
2011, and you might, yeah. Anyway,
okay,
but yeah,
Simon
Bitcoin is
Simon
the
is the
solution.
AI
Solomon, do you want to move on to a different topic? I think.
Yeah, Matt. Oh, is that it? You just wanted to
No,
talk about
I
Bitcoin?
don't mind talking about Bitcoin, but is there breaking news,
No,
or do
I
you want to
thought
go down
you'd
this
have
road?
more to say other than Bitcoin. Okay, cool.
Simon is the AI that coded Bitcoin.
Decent. I think it's probably a really. I think that was just a charade. I bet he's like Simon's employee or something.
No, I did want to talk about it just because I don't feel like enough people know about it, and since I was like,
Bro, listen, Matt, like Simon's like on here all the time. That's all he talks about. Not that's
okay,
all he talks about,
all
but
right,
that's a big part of what he talks about.
okay, cool.
He's like
Simon, I'm gonna check out your stuff anyway.
Simon's like Mr. Bitcoin from like 2012 or whatever.
Okay, nice.
So let me give you some more news. Israel attacks gas facilities allegedly. I've not posted this, but I'm just checking. They've targeted gas facilities and in Bandar Abbas. And yeah, the Zionists on the right wing are basically perpetuating this idea that there's going to be an attack on America. So a highly high level of chance that there's going to be a false flag for sure. Okay, guys, if there's somebody who's got military experience or any forms of experience in that regard, send me a message and I'll bring you up immediately because we do want to hear from you. Furthermore, if you're in Iran, then again, send us a message and we'll bring you right up. If you want to hear what's happening on the ground, that would be awesome and golden. Do me a favor, retweet, reshare the space, let everybody know we're live. That would be fire as well. And let's
Hey,
go.
Suleiman, just wanted to also follow up that although Truth and I argue like crazy nowadays, we actually did like 12 weeks where we discovered all the different solutions and Bitcoin as the solution and stuff like that. So I'll link to the first if anyone wants to actually go down that rabbit hole. I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah. Obviously, you did definitely platform Truth during that time. I remember it.
I want to say though, like if I could respond this really quick though to the other part of the conversation.
No, I
like,
don't want to. Mofe, I don't want to go back to that because it being the same conversation all the time about between Truth and Simon.
Yeah, and you took a year off me. I'm 2011 with Bitcoin. That a year means everything in Bitcoin.
Whoa, 2011. I thought that's when it came out.
Now, 2009, and I spoke at the first Bitcoin conference and wrote the first published book, including Bitcoin, in 2011.
What was your first book called?
Bank to the Future, Protect Your Future Before Governments Go Bust.
I like it, Simon. Love it, bruv. Love it. I am a massive Back to the Future fan. I might just create another Back to the Future meme and troll the Zios because they didn't get the Star Wars one. We might just do that as a homage to your book as well. Okay, let's bring in Aaron. Aaron, jump in. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, hi guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I just obviously I was listening for many hours last night, stayed up all night. No, just really impressed. I mean, honestly, there weren't any crazy Zio conversations, and almost everyone that spoke like were really informative and helpful. And to be honest, I was just really impressed. It sort of warmed my heart that so many people now are really dedicating themselves, yourself included, Suleiman, to fighting the Zionist regime, fighting Israel, and standing up for the truth and for what's right. And more people are doing it because we're doing it. So we're making a difference. And obviously, it's not as much difference as we'd like to make. We are. But yeah, I just thought the thing about the IDF headquarters under a hospital with tunnels is just absolutely massively ironic, isn't it? It's just bizarre. I mean, with all their accusations about, Hamas headquarters under hospitals, it's just, yeah, someone needs to do a really good graphic for that, like you said.
Every accusation is a confession.
Yeah, let's go to Jaffa. Jaffa, you had your hand up.
I actually didn't realize I was still up here until now. I'm actually going to drop down, make room for someone. I'm just going to listen in. Thank you for having me.
Cool. All right. Sergeant Verity, go ahead. Surgeon Verity. Okay, another guy who's just come up. Right. Ian, how's it going? How you doing?
Oh, very well, and just want to thank you guys, of course, for keeping the conversation going here and keeping the truth coming on the breaking events. Because I'll tell you, if you step away from these spaces, Suli, all you get is the normie narrative, and all you hear is that Iran's on its heels, Israel is, they have built a mountain of gold and success, and are an unstoppable force of good. And then you scroll through Twitter and you see the endless Western politicians say prayers be with Israel, but not a single one of the ones, at least that I've come across, said anything about prayers to the Iranians when Israel initially struck them, which is just, it's rather telling and just further affirms the things that we often talk about in these spaces. But you know, it's wild to see these realities. I understand the protests are kind of taking shape and place. We've now got these two politicians that were shot. I certainly fear the prospects of some kind of false flag, and I feel like at this point, with as much control as they're losing of the narrative, that's probably the only thing that could be done. But I believe if they try to do it, that they're going to get caught with their pants down in the process of doing such. And so I really, I feel like, you know, I said probably 6 months ago that I felt as if the intellectual war on the noticing or the JQ, whatever you want to call it, I felt like we had essentially already won. And when I say we, I mean the truth tellers of the world. And kudos to Truth Teller of the Account, who's up here on this panel, is one of the best guns in this intellectual war that we find ourselves in. But I really do feel like the media is going to continue trying to lie. The politicians are going to continue to cuck, but all they do in doing so is affirm the things that we suggest. And so it feels like, you know, the moments in time that have taken place since October 7th have really shifted any and all, not only narratives, but also momentum in our favor. And anything that they try to do, I believe, false flag included at this point, is just going to serve as additional nails in this intellectual coffin that they have kind of boxed themselves into. And, you know, I don't wish any violence or hate or anything on anybody, but if you build a glass house and then sit inside the house and you demand that everyone, you know, ignore the things that they can transparently see through that glass, and you know, suggest to them that they need to worship you while you're clearly doing nefarious things, eventually people are going to catch on. And when they do, they're going to be frustrated. And when that machine then lies at them and says, no, 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 don't notice the man behind the curtain, all it does is further increase the tensions. And so it's wild that we live in this world. I really, Suleiman, when we started, when I started joining some of your spaces, maybe 6 months, a year ago, I had no idea that this awakening, this awareness would go as far as it has. And we find ourselves in the reality that we do today, where in spite of all the media, all the politicians, all the propaganda, you know, the sentiments, at least on X, seem to be drastically anti-Israeli support. And there was a post that was put up, I don't want to say it was Charlie Kirk. One of the big guys put up a poll saying, should the United States give military support to Israel? And it was like 95% no.
Thomas Massey put up
Thomas
that poll.
Massey, there you go, there you go. And so Thomas Massey, who granted he's a freedom fighter, right? He's a good guy, I believe that. But obviously he's viewed by endless, quote unquote, normal Americans who don't see the world necessarily with the clarity that I think the people in this space do. But for Massey to put out the poll and for the results to be so overwhelming, for the politicians to then go up, and I saw one of them today saying, America uniformly sides with Israel. And then you look at the comments below and it's like, no, not even close. And so they can continue trying to force feed this narrative, but the more they push on it, the more obvious it becomes that it's false. And the more people that realize that, the more they start asking other questions. And the next thing you know, they find themselves in the space, Suleiman, with yourself and other, you know, essentially intellectual freedom fighters. So God bless to everybody that's in this movement that merely seeks truth, that doesn't push for the hatred of anybody, but rather just the awareness to what the hell's going on. And so without you, Suleiman, and this conversation, these spaces, I don't know if this would have gone nearly as far as it has. So much love to you and to everybody else that's in here, and for everything that all of you guys are doing.
Hey, and quick comment. There's obviously loads of protests across America that's coincided with this 250-year thing. Are you expecting are you expecting us to be infiltrated and end in riots and all sorts of Palantir technology requests from Laura Loomer?
Oh, if I had to wager as a betting man, I'd say the odds are high that something will happen. I don't think that they would benefit from something drastic taking place. And I know that we already had the 2 politicians that supposedly were shot, and obviously I would condemn any and all violence. With as much as is going on right now, I feel like if they try to pull off any kind of major false flag amidst all of these things, it's almost too much of an obvious game, or at least that would be my assumption, right? Now that being said, looking at a lot of the protests, it seems like a lot of the people that are out there with this no kings stuff, it's pretty run of the mill, liberal minded individuals that, you know, they're convinced that Trump is rising to power and he's going to seize all the authority. And I just kind of wish I could sit there on the sidelines with them and say, well, I agree with you, but you're not going to like the why behind I would agree with it.
They are
But
trying to create. They are cheering for a MAGA king with a no king protest, right?
that's exactly right. Yeah, it's wild because you look at the signs from a lot of these protesters, and they basically want. There was one sign that I saw online that was basically impeach. What was it?
Just some breaking news. Let me just quickly give breaking news. I'll give it straight back to you. The first one is that one's in the nest. Pakistani defense minister tells parliament they provided Iran with intelligence on upcoming Israeli strikes on its nuclear facilities. That tweets in the nest. And then we have a second piece of news, which is large fire reported at Iran's Imam Hassan garrison in Kermanshah following Israeli airstrikes. So that's the latest news in that. Sorry, Ian, do finish your point, and then we'll go to someone else.
No, of course, and Simon, the sign was something along the lines of overturn democracy hashtag no kings, and it was like, wait a second. So your solution and attempt here to avoid a king is to basically throw out the democratic process and the democratically elected president. Like, isn't that curious? And so it's, you know, what we basically see, and I believe that these protests are largely going to be astroturfed with provocateurs, just like the migrant riots that are taking place. All these things, it's basically they're being used as over-the-top renditions of, I guess you'd loosely call it kayfabe in the pro wrestling world, right? The construct of the good guys and the bad guys. And it's just a wild time to be alive because the more chaotic the world gets, the more absurd the light side, the dark side, the left, the right, whatever you want to call them, have to become. And so we're just seeing these individuals who are getting to these positions where intellectually they support things that they can't even tell you why they're chanting the slogans that they are. You ask them for the foundational belief systems that would get them where they have become. And one of the easiest examples for anybody listening is just this idea that you could go up to the person that's, you know, they're extremely pro-choice, right? They're pro-abortion till the very end, and it's like, oh, okay, well, what about the death penalty? And they'll say, well, that's horrible. And it's like, well, why is that horrible? And they'll say, well, because life must be protected. And you're like, wait a second, right? And so people have just gotten so caught up in the left-right paradigm and the talking points that they don't take a moment to look at the foundation that they would build those upon. And so I think all these things that are being thrown at the masses, it's the most exaggerated rendition of that exact paradigm. It's just to get people back into the left-right thing. And I really do fear that with Palantir and the chaos going on in the Middle East, that we're in store for just more and more erratic behavior from all the powers that be, because they've started to lose the narrative, and they are like a cornered rabid animal because they're so accustomed to having absolute control. And as things slip out of their grasp, just to stick with my nerdy references, it goes back to the more you tighten your grip, the more the star systems will slip through your fingers. And that's what's happening. The more Ben Shapiro demands that you not look behind the curtain, the more people get curious what's back there. And so, you know, I think we're going to continue to win as long as we just continue to speak the truth, and that we don't deceive not only ourselves, but also others, and that we just genuinely, when we're wrong, we accept we're wrong. When we're right, we just demonstrate that we're right. But at the end of all of it, we just constantly check one another in pursuit of truth. And that's why I love all the guys that are up here. And thank you so much for letting me speak.
Appreciate it. Guys, do retweet, reshare the space. Let everybody know alive. I think people are starting to cotton on to this whole Israel keeping military bases under a hospital. It's crazy. Got a statement from the White House. They've said, we have the ability to negotiate a successful peace resolution to this conflict if Iran is willing. The fastest way for Iran to accomplish peace is to give up its nuclear weapons program. That is by a statement by America. Jump in, Truth.
Sure, thanks. And yeah, that statements like that are just wishful thinking because, again, America negotiates in bad faith. Meanwhile, they collaborate with Israel. And can another nuclear deal be trusted, given that it was the same individual, Trump, that trashed the first one? And they're claiming they may be willing to compromise on the same terms and conditions from the previous one to allow for low level enrichment. But Israel isn't willing to concede even that. They're saying no enrichment, and that's just a red line. It's not going to go. So, but I believe it's gone past the point of no return. The time for talks is gone. They did 5 rounds anyway. Where did that get them? Nowhere. And all along it was just a decoy, I believe. Trump was playing decoy for Israel, pretending there's a rift with Netanyahu as well as part of the plan to catch Iran off guard. So that plan failed, and the phase 2 of the plan was to try to unite the liberal movement within Iran, the reformist movement, to want to cause a revolution and overtake its regime. That failed as well, because now they're fully united. So in terms of going forward, the situation looks bleak, based on my perspective, and it's just going to be an ongoing war with a back and forth. And it's just a question of whether America joins, along with NATO. And then they're going to try to provoke Iran, as I believe they did when America sent some of its Apache helicopters close by Iran's airspace. They didn't breach it; they're careful not to. And then the UK sent one of its battleships. It was, I believe, still within international waters, but it was approaching the Indian Ocean, still considered international waters. And Iran's navy caught it and caused it to reverse course. So they're trying to provoke, antagonize, and possibly create a pretext for NATO to join the conflict. And then it's a question, well, then how will China and Russia respond? Are they still going to play it off neutral and just, on the sidelines, or will they step in? I think so far, Pakistan, I'm actually saying Pakistan now, they seem like more willing to join in than the other nations. Obviously, in addition to Ansarullah from Yemen and Hezbollah as well. So a lot of unknowns at this time. It's a fluid situation. Things could change at a moment's notice. And I'm curious to see how things unfold with Iran's promise to go 20 times as hard and to turn the Red Sea into, what may consist of what will be in Israel, their own little Red River, maybe, of blood from the bloodshed that's going to be caused that they brought on themselves. And I'll say Iran has the right to defend itself. It's Israel that's the aggressor, just for that headline.
Iran has a right to defend itself. Israel is using his people as human shields, as has been demonstrated. And Israel's got military bases under hospitals. Like, what is the irony of all of this? It's just flipping crazy.
And Netanyahu's in the tunnels in Greece.
Exactly. Good one. Guys, do me a favor, retweet and reshare the space. Let everybody know we're live. Let me pass the mic over to Khaleesi. Khaleesi, you want to take over?
Hey, Suleiman. Yeah, where's Nathan? I want to thank Nathan for covering whilst I was gone. Thank you so much, Nathan. Shocking news. I'm just catching up myself, to be honest. I saw a headline just now. It's not a headline, actually. It's an Israel News Pulse. It's an Israeli news kind of profile on X. And it says, Iran, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei signed an order tonight to assassinate Netanyahu. I do not believe it's true for a second, number one. Number two, I think that Israel is the last country to be talking about how wrong it is to assassinate political leaders. But it's just propaganda. It's to get to kind of get the consent of people, to manipulate people into thinking, and a lot of Americans already think this, that Iran, before October the 7th, even when we used to do spaces, they used to come on and say, but Iran, and I'd say, well, what's Iran ever done to you? Oh, nothing. So it's indoctrinated in them, and they try to manufacture consent with this. It's a disgrace. Let me go to Ayla. Ayla, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the mic. And first of all, I should say thank you, Suleiman, thank you, Khaleesi, and everyone here for this space and for covering the news about what's happening for Iran and you are the voice of people, Iranians who are living in Iran, and I appreciate all of your efforts and what you are doing in this space.
How is
So
it in
at
Iran
the
right now? You're there, right?
yeah, yes, I'm in Iran in south, and at the moment they are attacking us. They're attacking my city and some other cities. Still, we hear the voice of air defense, the explosions in the sky we can hear, and
Have they
some of
struck
the
any civilian infrastructure? I know they've gone after the military sites, nuclear sites,
yes, of
etc.
course. They attacked an area that called Pardis. Pardis is an area that is completely civilian area. There is no military base. There is no factory or big company in this area. And in fact, it's an area for the poor people, because I hear in the Zionist social medias that they say Israel attacked the neighborhoods in Iran that belong to rich people, and people who work for government are usually rich people. The Pardis area in Ahvaz has no military base and belongs to the poor people of this city. So they even attacked that neighborhood that belongs to poor people. They are literally they are targeting civilian areas. And also they are targeting the steel company that is very close to my house too. But the air defense could intercept the Israeli drones. Desford City, we had the interception of the Israeli drones too. Also, they bombed the children hospital, the Hakim hospital in Tehran too, that belongs to kids. And usually the kids who are suffering from cancer are in this hospital too.
Bomb the hospital.
So I know,
Is that the only hospital they bombed?
yes, the children hospital, Hakim hospital. So probably they found the Hamas tunnel under
And
the
you think
hospital in
Israel bombed
Tehran
it?
too.
You said
Yes,
Israel
Israel
bombed that
bombed it.
children's hospital.
Yes, the children hospital, and also they bombed 3 refineries in south of Iran too. But they could fight. They could control the fire, but still we are under attack.
Are you near it? Are you able to take like a video shot, or you can't do that?
I'm close to the steel company, but no, I couldn't take any video.
Okay, but has it actually been released that they like? Is there anything out there that they have targeted that children's hospital? I think if you can, that should be information to try and get out in the world.
Yes, let me find the pictures of the hospital. I will send
What's
it
the name
for
of that?
through
What's the name of that hospital?
Hakim Hospital. Hakim.
Hakim. Got it.
Yes.
I think Hakim means like
You
doctor,
can send
doesn't
me
it,
some
in
pictures.
Persian? Sorry, who was speaking?
No, I was
And
just
then
asking.
Yes, if Hakim means
and
doctor.
then imagine IDF under a hospital. Leave it. Just that thought alone, it just infuriates me.
Yeah, and by the way, when everybody that is Israeli has to, most circumstances, work for the IDF for 3 years, and then if they go into bunkers, which is under the buildings, they've literally created a underground structure by which all IDF soldiers go under the buildings, which by Israelis' narrative would make all of those fair target, despite the fact that there may be civilians in there, if you want to actually follow the same rules that Israel follows in Gaza.
Exactly.
This Hakim hospital that Isla's talking about, I think she said it's a cancer hospital. It treats children with cancer. Is that right, Isla?
Yes, it treats the sick children, not only people who suffer from cancer, but majority of kids that are in this hospital suffers from cancer. Yes.
And do you think that was a deliberate strategy to target that?
Of course.
They have a history of targeting hospitals.
know what
I knew
they
the
did.
answer. I just wanted to hear your answer. Wow. Okay. So they're using Gaza techniques on Iran. So yeah, if you're able to get like any pictures and videos and stuff, I think the internet would like to see that.
Absolutely. And how many casualties were
Yes,
reported?
I'm looking for it in the. I'm trying to find the source of the news and pictures, and I will send it for Truth Teller.
How many casualties were reported from this bombing at the hospital? Or is it too soon? All right, I think she's just looking up for the images. You can find out later. I don't know who's next.
If I can say while she's looking that up, for the ROE, Rules of Engagement, and I'm taking this to Beirut, Lebanon, 82, correct? Here I am as a boat officer in the amphibious objective area. Again, the IDF plays by a set of rules that we as American forces that are completely covering their ass, completely on the line. We're told, don't worry about the IDF. I said, well, what's their ROE? You're telling me that they could come into our AOA, our amphibious objective area. Here I am, a boat officer. I have 5 men that I'm responsible for their lives, my life. Yeah, don't worry about it. My point I'm making here is I learned very early, and I'm not talking about something I read in a paper or in an article. I was there. The fear factor of being more afraid, and I'm talking God gut-wrenching fear, where you're worried about getting hit by an IDF strike because they don't give a shit about what any ROE is with the American forces. Again, I know about the USS Liberty. Those are my shipmates. All right, and I won't even go into that because we already know about that. But the whole thing that's just really something here, imagine, again, hiding under these creeps, these cowards, these reprobates hiding under a hospital. And here they're hitting hospitals and all this bullshit. I mean, we'll get started in Gaza, what they've done there.
Thanks so much for that, Andrew. Guys, listen, we have, I don't know how many thousands of people on the space. Please, I want everybody to retweet the space. If you did it earlier, please do it again. You can do that by pressing the purple pill on the bottom right-hand side and retweeting it from there. Or you see the share button just next to it. It's a little kind of half a triangle with the 3 little circles on it. If you press that and share via post, and then just share the space again. Let people know we're still here and we're live. Many people did join us last night. They may not be able to see the space again because Suleiman's having glitches with the space for sure. So please reshare, retweet the space, let people know we're live. I've retweeted it just again. I'm asking everybody on our panel and in our listeners to do the same. We're grateful, really grateful. Ayla, were you about to say something then when I spoke? No, I don't think she's there.
She was looking for information on that hospital. I'd also asked her about the casualties, so maybe she can provide more info. And it happened recently.
Sorry, I was looking for the news and the pictures. I found it and I trying to send it for Truth Teller.
Thank you. I had a question for you just about the number of casualties, if any have been reported.
So far, there has been a few hundred reported. Israel has been genociding, just massacring women and children. So Iran is currently trying to defend itself.
I found this information as well, Truth Teller. It's called Hakim Children's Hospital, and it's in Tehran itself. And it was reported, and it says Zionist enemy entity bombs Children's Hospital in Tehran. There's been quite a few outlets that have reported it. Israel attacked a children's hospital in Tehran. It's come out in the last, one of these articles in the last 4 hours, one of them's in the last 7 hours. Let me just have a look at it. Let's see what it says. Yeah.
Hospital.
Yeah, I found a link as well for it. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's just amazing, isn't it, that if somebody doesn't come on your space and tell you how corrupt mainstream media is, that they have not picked this up at all. This is a children's hospital that had, it was functioning hospital. It had people in it, children in it, and Israel bombed that. Can you imagine the reverse if Iran had just surprisingly, if they didn't have defense capabilities and it went and struck a children's hospital in Israel or anywhere else in the world? It would make international news for days, literally days. We'd have the stories of all the doctors that work there, their lives, their families, the nurses that work there, the children, the damage done, you know, independent opinions from other people. It would have been on the airways for days, and this hasn't even hit mainstream. It's a disgrace. The media is as complicit in this genocide as our politicians are, to be honest.
And also, Khaleesi, this is a different legal I know that nothing matters at the moment, but this is a different legal standing to occupied territory in Palestine. You know, this is a sovereign nation bombing children's hospitals with no declaration of war. Now, we know that ain't shit going to happen afterwards in terms of the legal process, but it's a very different precedent and very different consequences down the line.
Yeah. Well, you say consequences down the line. I think 2 years ago, I may have agreed with you, but now I just think, really? Any consequences, Simon?
No, not really. They've been doing it for decades and decades and centuries, really.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to William. You've been sat on the panel for a while, William Baker. What are your thoughts? You stand with Israel, it says. I don't know how you got up on the panel, but anyway, William, go ahead. William, you're in a safe environment. Don't worry. You're a British who stands with Israel. You're fine with our country just plummeting hundreds of millions to support Israel while
It
we
says he's a
struggle.
Christian too. He's probably another Zionist agent. Probably another Zionist Mossad agent, because if you were really Christian, you would know that Israel hates Christians. You would know that they literally spit on Christians. All right,
Okay,
you would know that
just
this
one
year
second, Brother
during
Mofit.
Christian
That's enough. I
holidays
got
they
it. I
shut
got
down
it.
the
Thanks,
churches.
Brother Mofit. I have it. I've got it. Thank you very much. I'm now going to drop William because I think it's a new profile and he doesn't really want to speak. But I did have that in hand. But thanks anyway. Let me go to RJ La Rush. Go ahead.
Hey there, how's it going? So I've been
Yeah.
kind of following the past couple of days, and I didn't really think they were going to go through with all the stuff that they did because it's
Hold
pretty
that
clear to me
thought
that
1 second, RJ Ralash, and I'm coming straight to you. I'm so sorry. We do actually just, for any news that comes out, we do interrupt to give the news. We have the news of the hospital in the nest. Israel targeted a children's hospital in Tehran. A drone launched by the Israeli regime. Sorry, whose mic's open? Oh, Sajay, okay, yeah. A drone launched by the Israeli regime hit Hakim Children's Hospital, which is affiliated with Tehran University of Medical Sciences, the university's public relations office said in a statement. We've got the pictures there as well. Suleiman's put the news out there. Guys, please share that. Please retweet it. You've heard us talk about it just now on the space right here live. Thank you so much for Isla to bringing that up and making us aware of it. We've already said mainstream media have not covered this at all. So it's up to us to get the news out about the children in that hospital and the fact that the hospital was struck. So I'm asking everybody in listeners, please go up to the nest, which is where you can see Suleiman, myself and Simon. If you go above that on your screen, you will see a post there. Please share that post, retweet it, like it. If you can't see it for some reason, go to Suleiman's profile. And while you're there, please make sure that you press the bell icon and set your notifications for him as well. Thank you, RJ Larash. I'm sorry to have interrupted you. Go ahead.
yeah. So I was just it's pretty clear to me that Israel's responsible for 9/11 for it happening here. They knew about it, they planned it, and they actually profited from it. And like they also with JFK too, and that really stings me because like a lot of people just don't realize that in this country, like Israel's not our friend at all, and they have bad intentions for us. So and everyone that I've known that's been Jewish has pretty much screwed me over in my life. So I kind of understand how that can happen. And they also killed Jesus Christ in the Bible. So they've gone from that to killing Martin Luther King to killing JFK to killing his brother to killing almost killing Reagan. They shot Reagan and scared him. And, like they've got everyone blacklisted or blackmailed in DC pretty much. It seems like they're like trying to control our government still. So it's just like the weird predicament that we're in. We're like being blackmailed by people like Epstein. Epstein was an agent for the Mossad. We worked for Mossad. He was a Mossad agent, and he was doing the blackmail thing, um, blackmailing people and like politicians, DC celebrities, stuff like that. And so that's why they haven't been talking. We'll release this list that they keep saying they're going to release, like every like month or so. Like, oh, we'll release Epstein files, and then just stop talking about it. Just it goes away. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened to the Epstein list? Elon Musk is on that list too. I believe he used to party at his dinner parties in Manhattan uh, with his ex-wife. So I mean, I think he's on the list too. So it's not like um, Elon Musk is innocent, and he's also Elon Musk has taken a lot of government money, a lot of like billions and billions, like hundreds of billions of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon through his companies. So he's not like he's pretty much working with the U.S. and also Chinese Communist Party money. He got some loans from them when he built his Shanghai factory, which is their Shanghai factory because they own the land and they own the factory and they own the 20,000 slave labor workers that work at the factory. So